Please rise. 34th District Court is now in session. The Honorable Tina Brooks Green presiding.
Have a seat. Calling the case of People versus Timothy Moore on behalf of the people. Let me do all three. Hang on just a second. Timothy Moore, Shandon Groom, and Shane Evans on behalf of the people.
Good morning, Your Honor. Victoria Shackelford appearing on behalf of the people.
On behalf of Mr. Moore.
Good morning, Your Honor. Christina Joseph appearing with and on behalf of Mr. Timothy Moore.
On behalf of Mr. Groom.
David I. Goldstein appearing on behalf of defendant Groom.
And on behalf of Mr. Evans.
Good morning again, Your Honor. Coral Watt appearing on behalf of Mr. Evans.
And as I indicated before we went on the record, as we're all seated in social distance, if you're comfortable, you can take your mask off. If you're not, you can leave your mask on. It's up to you. I would ask that if you leave the space that you're in to put your mask back on, but otherwise, whatever your comfort level is.
Your Honor, I probably should have asked this before we went on the record, but given the awkwardness of the courtroom because of the nature of the three defendants and so forth, are you going to require us to stand when we address the court?
Your preference. I'm okay if you don't,
Okay.
especially because you have the as long as she can pick it up on the recording and as long as everyone else can hear you, I will dispense with the formalities of standing. It's your preference. Same thing, Ms. Shackelford. It's your preference if you want to stand or sit, whatever your comfort level is.
And Your Honor, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Rachel McDuffie is my second chair. Can she just put her appearance on the record?
Yes.
Good morning, Your Honor. Rachel McDuffie for the people, P number 82916.
Are we ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor. I need to find my phone and I will text you on this. Shoot. Oh. Yeah. Can you call Richardson?
They are, you are. Okay.
No, just you, and then Ms. Joshua after. All right, thank you.
You will bring the witnesses back through the back way. Is that what they're doing? Yeah. We're gonna attempt to bring the witnesses through this back so that they don't have to navigate.
Yeah, I can fill out the COVID form.
Pardon? Oh, yeah. Good.
How many copies? 3. Can I have a third copy?
And sir, if you can just step this way. Ms. Shackelford, if you wanna, can you raise your right hand? Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God? Yes?
Yes.
Go ahead and have a seat. And since you're sitting and we're all social distanced, if you want, you can take your mask off.
Okay.
If you're more comfortable with it on, you can leave it on, okay? Yes?
Yes.
I mean, I can already tell because she's recording this and everybody has to hear you. When you answer, you have to say yes or no. You can't say mm-hmm, uh-huh, or nod your head. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Shackelford?
Thank you. Good morning, sir. Can you state your name for me, please?
Arthur Richardson?
Okay, Mr. Richardson, do you know an individual by the name of Shandon Groom?
Yes.
Okay, and how do you know Shandon Groom?
Long-time friends.
Like how long?
10 plus.
Okay. And do you see Mr. Groom present in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Okay, can you point to him and
Your Honor,
describe?
we'll stipulate for purposes of the exam as the defendant.
Thank you.
Stipulated.
So, Mr. Richardson, I want to ask you some questions about the year 2017. Do you recall, were you incarcerated during any time that year?
Yes.
Okay, and do you recall approximate dates that you would have been incarcerated?
I went to jail like June 6th to like November. Like I did 6 months of like mid-November.
Okay, and sir, let me ask you, when you went to jail on that day, can you tell me, where'd you go to court?
Toledo Municipal.
To Toledo Municipal Court?
Yeah.
And when you went to that court, what were you driving?
My truck.
All right, and can you tell me a little bit about that truck?
It's a blue Ram truck.
Okay, a blue Ram truck. And when you, do you know what year it was?
Like 09 or so.
Okay. Sir, I'm gonna approach you here with People's Proposed Exhibit 6A. Approaching, Your Honor, may I?
Go ahead.
Sure. Do you see the vehicle in this photo marked 6A?
Yeah.
Do you recognize that vehicle?
Yeah, it kind of look like my truck.
It kind of looks like your truck, or it's your truck?
It's kind of like my truck.
Okay, do you recall, let me ask you this. we'll go back to the jail, okay? But let me ask you this. Did you at some time get interviewed by Michigan State Police?
Yes.
Okay, and when you were interviewed with Michigan State Police, did you give them permission to take custody of your blue Dodge Ram?
Yes.
Okay, you did that. And here I'm going to show you 6C. Do you recognize that photograph?
6 what, I'm sorry?
6C?
That could be my truck.
It could be your truck.
It could be. It's
Okay.
a lot of, you know, blue trucks.
That's
It's my
fine.
truck.
All right, so I want to take you back a little bit now, back to when you went to court, Toledo Municipal Court. When you went to that court, you said you thought it was about June 6th?
Yeah. Yep.
Is that correct?
Yeah, but yes, sir, yes, like June 6th, I don't know the exact date.
If your booking records or the jail records indicated that you were taken into custody on June 7th, would you dispute that?
No, it was one of those.
Okay, so you're taken into custody, and what, do you know approximately when you got out?
Not exact date, no.
All
Just
right.
in November.
Sometime in November? Okay, and if the record showed that it was November 14th of 2017, would you dispute that?
Nope, middle of November.
Okay, so when you went to court on that day, do you recall, where did you leave from? When you woke up in the morning,
I
right?
can't tell you that. I don't recall that.
All right, do you recall where you
4 years
lived?
ago now.
Do you recall where you lived at that time?
I want to say Gardens. I don't know. I'll say a few other places is in
Okay, but it could have been Weston Gardens.
Western Gardens.
So did you take anyone with you when you went to court on that day?
Yep, Shannon rode with me.
All right, and do you call Shandon something besides Shandon? Chico? Okay. So, Shandon rode with you to court?
Yeah.
Just you two?
Yeah.
In your truck?
Yeah.
So when you get to the court, what happens?
I get locked up.
All right, and who took possession? Did you have your phone with you on that day?
I think my phone was in my truck.
Okay, and did you, who took your truck home? Or took your truck, who'd you give possession of your truck to?
My truck was parked. I don't know who exactly moved it, but it was parked when I was asking with the court.
Okay. Sir, do you recall giving an interview to Michigan State Police back on November 5th of 2017?
No.
You don't recall meeting with this officer sitting right here, Detective Plummer?
Not
At a jail?
November 5th, 2017, no.
Oh, I'm sorry, 2020.
Oh.
Do you recall, that's my bad. Do you recall that?
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
All right. And when you had that interview with them, do you recall telling them that Shandon Groom took your truck and your phone and had possession of them when you went to jail?
No, I didn't know who had my possession. of my
Okay,
stuff.
so you don't recall?
I was incarcerated.
Yes or no, did you say that?
I don't recall.
Okay. I want you to listen to this clip here and tell me if you recall making this statement.
My girl could have had to. She the only one, you know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. I think Shannon had it when I first went to jail. Like I said, I went to jail. Shannon came with me. My girl didn't come with me. He came with me. So when I went to jail, he took my truck and my phone and everything.
You remember making that statement?
Yeah, I said when I went to court, he was with me. So
No,
like I said,
sir.
I don't know who moved my
Sir,
truck.
Your Honor, this is obviously an argumentative witness. At this time, I'm going to ask that I be able to treat him as an adverse witness.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Sir, isn't it true that you told police on that date when you were interviewed by Detective Plummer and another Michigan State police officer that when you went to court that day and you went to jail, that Shandon Groom, Chico, had your phone and your truck?
No, I said my phone was inside my truck. The day that I was there, my phone was inside my truck. Really?
Sir,
all of
these
it,
are, no.
everything?
This is a yes
You
or
only
no.
you only showing clips of it. You only show the beginning of it when I said I don't know.
Your Honor.
And Judge, at this point, I'm going to object. I would ask that the prosecutor let the witness answer the question. He's trying to answer, and she's cutting him off.
Judge, I am allowed to leave. It's
You're
a yes or
allowed
no
to leave.
question.
She's not
I only
objecting
want
on
one-
the basis of leading you.
I'm not.
just saying not
That
letting him answer
it's
the
about
question.
cutting him off, but let him, I mean, you played the tape where clearly he makes a statement to the detective that is, and so you can follow it up from there.
So, you indicated that he had your truck when he left. Is that correct? When
Yes,
you
he
went
could've-
to
he could've
jail.
Possibly moved it, yes.
All right, I didn't ask you that.
Well, that's what I'm telling you now.
And when you got out of jail in November, you learned that Shannon Gruen had blown the engine of your truck, yes or no?
Yes, the motor was blown. Yes, my truck was parked on blown.
Okay, your truck was just parked on Bloom.
Yes.
You didn't tell police that, did you? When you were interviewed
They didn't
back
ask
in
me.
November? Yes or no?
They didn't ask me that, ma'am.
Okay,
If they would have asked me, I would have told them.
okay.
Yes, ma'am.
But you indicated at that time that you got your truck back, Shannon Groom had blown the engine of your truck while you were in custody. Yes or no?
Yes, the truck motor was blown.
Okay. And sir, can you tell me what was your phone number back in 2017?
419-206-4931.
And back in 2017, while you were incarcerated, where did Shannon Groom live?
Can't recall.
Okay, do you recall making a statement to the police officer about an apartment on Ashcroft and Ashland and Baycroft? Do you recall making that statement to Michigan State Police?
He could have been there. He could have stayed there. I don't
Okay,
know.
but that's not, sir. Do you recall making the statement?
I don't recall. Can you
Okay.
play it back?
Yep, I
don't
sure
recall.
can.
I'm sorry. It was months ago.
When you were in jail, where was Chico staying? Well, I was in jail staying on Ashland and Bancroft.
So back then, you knew the answer to that question. You said Ashland and Baycroft, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And are you aware, or do you know an individual by the name of Tim Moore?
I heard of him.
All right, you never seen him before?
No.
Okay. Did you know how he was related to Shannon Groom?
Guess they cousins or so. I don't know.
All right. And did you know if Timothy Moore had a dating relationship with a certain individual?
No.
You don't, do you recall telling police back in 2020 when you were interviewed that you were aware of Timothy Moore and that he had a dating relationship with Groom's cousin? Do you recall making that statement?
No.
All right, let's see. Can we have that clip, please?
How is Dillard, is Tim dating a Dillard? Yeah. Is he not supposed to be, but he is, or what? But like I said, that's Shannon, the Dillards is Shannon's mom's side, and then the Grooms is his dad's side. So he's Timmy is the groom, but yeah, he dating. Okay. So yeah, so that's Shannon cousin, he dating Shannon auntie. Okay, so Tim is dating Shannon's auntie. Okay. No, wait, that's his cousin. That's his cousin. Right. He's on the other side of the family. On the side of the family, right. This was, all right. Yeah. So it sounds kind of funny. But they not blood. They not blood.
You recall saying that now?
Kind of sort of, yeah.
All right. And that cousin's name is Felicia Dillard, right?
Yes, it's his name, yes.
Okay, that's the cousin that Moore was dating.
Yes.
Okay. Now, back in 2017, was Shannon Groom in a relationship?
Yep.
All right, who was he in a relationship with?
His name's Charmaine, I don't know.
Okay, her name's Charmaine.
Yeah.
Do you know what ended up happening to Charmaine? She's still with us.
Why? I don't see why that question even
Well,
asking.
You have to ask the question, you have to answer the questions even if you,
But she deceased right now?
She's deceased, okay, but back in 2017, Groom was in a relationship with her, correct?
Yes.
And that Ashland and Bancroft apartment was where he resided with Charmaine, correct?
Yeah, she stayed there, yeah.
Okay. I need just 1 second, Judge. Let me ask you another question. This blue Dodge Ram that you had, was it registered in your name?
No,
Whose name was that registered in?
my little brother,
Is that Arthur Greenlee?
yes.
Judge, I need just one moment. I have no further questions.
Ms. Joseph?
Good morning.
Good morning.
So back in June of 2017, you didn't know my client Timothy Moore, did you?
No,
And in fact, you had never seen him in all of 2017,
I never
correct?
even heard his name. Like I never even known of a Timothy Moore.
You had never even heard of a Timothy Moore in 2017, okay.
No,
And so you didn't know who Timothy Moore was or was not dating in 2017, correct?
No.
And you never gave Timothy Moore your phone back in 2017, did you?
no.
In fact, you never gave Timothy Moore your phone, right?
2017, I ain't never, like I said, never even heard of Timothy Moore.
And you never gave Timothy Moore your truck,
No,
right? And you were you went to jail June 6, 2017, right?
yes,
Okay. And so you don't actually know who or if anyone had your truck on June 22nd, 2017, do you?
no,
And that's because you were incarcerated on June 6th, right?
yes, ma'am.
So on June 22nd, 2017, you were incarcerated,
Yes,
right? Okay. And you don't know who had your phone that day either, do you?
no,
Of course, that's because you were incarcerated, right?
yes,
Okay. And because you were incarcerated on June 22nd, 2017, you really can't say what your truck did or didn't look like on that day, right?
correct,
And you were arrested and booked on first-degree murder charges in this case, weren't you?
correct,
And those charges were dismissed, weren't they?
correct.
Nothing further.
Mr. Goldstein?
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Richardson, you testified that you've known Mr. Groom for about 10 years, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, how would you describe your relationship with him?
like a brother.
Was it always that way,
Mm-hmm.
especially in 2017
Yes,
and after 2017?
yes,
Hasn't changed?
no.
You guys get together a lot,
Yes,
talk a lot,
yes,
share stories back and forth,
yes.
some good, some bad?
Everything.
Okay. You trust him?
Yes,
Do you believe he trusts you?
yes,
So he tells you things that some people might consider to be bad, isn't that true?
yes,
For example, he told you about something that happened years ago when he went out into a field with somebody else and stole some marijuana.
yeah.
I'm going to object, Your Honor, to relevance.
What's the relevance, Mr.
I'm laying a
Goldstein?
foundation for a question that's coming in just a minute, Your Honor. Give me a minute, Your Honor.
Speed it up.
I will. I know, Judge. You and I have been around this before. Okay. In the years that you've known Mr. Groom, did he ever tell you anything about this case?
No,
Did he ever say anything to you that led you to believe that he had any knowledge of this case?
no,
Did he ever mention this case to you at all?
at all, not at all.
Did he ever tell you that he was involved in a robbery?
No,
And again, Your Honor, I'm going to object. I don't know what the relevance is of this.
Well, Your Honor, it's interesting because in his interviews with the police, they asked him those exact questions. So they must have thought it was relevant. And it has to do with with whether or not my client made comments, whether or not my client made
Well, okay,
confessions.
he's already said he hasn't, so move on to something else.
Sir, you were expecting to go to jail on June 7th, weren't you?
no.
You had no idea?
It was I kind of did, but I'm like, I really didn't know. It was only for a driving case, so I didn't think I was going to go to jail, do 6 months for driving.
So you didn't ask Mr. Groom to come with you specifically so that he could take your truck at the end of the day?
Like when I go to court, I normally have somebody come with me just in case I do go and somebody could go take my belongings. And
You didn't actually give him your phone, did you?
no,
Phone was in the truck.
yes.
Did you tell him it was in the truck?
I don't probably when he got in, he synced it, but I didn't tell him off the jump like it was in the truck.
Did you have any conversations with him about your phone?
Um,
That day, I'm talking about on June 7th.
oh no.
Now, obviously, you were locked up on June 7th, so you don't know who drove your truck away from the Toledo Municipal Court, do you?
Correct.
It could have been him, could have been somebody else.
I think he could have somebody call up there and get the truck because he ain't had no license. I don't
So objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Do you know whether or not Mr. Groom had a license on that date?
He didn't, no, for sure.
And I don't want to belabor the point, but you don't know who had your truck and who was driving your truck on the 8th of June, 9th of June, 10th of June, 22nd of June, et cetera.
I was incarcerated. Last time I spoke with someone, it was almost on like the 4th of July. It was around fireworks, you know, everybody was telling me how to get together going, and things like that.
Now, when you got out of jail on the 14th, I think it was, or 15th of July, I'm sorry, November, you said your truck was parked?
Yes,
Okay, and where was the truck parked?
on Bloom Street.
Sir?
On Bloom,
Okay, and what was that location?
I can't give you the exact address.
I don't
Is
mean-
that,
I mean-
is Bloom, is that in
Oh, Toledo, Ohio,
You were in Toledo?
Yes, Toledo.
Okay.
I don't mean the exact address, I mean, whose plate, was it, whose house was that? Or
It was one of my rental properties.
one of yours?
Yes.
Not Mr. Groom's, not Mr. Groom's?
No.
And you discovered that the truck was not operating,
Yes.
the engine was blown?
Yes.
Did you ever have any conversations with Mr. Groom about his use of the truck while you were in jail, or how the truck got to be in that condition?
Not until I got out of jail. Then he said like the engine had blown. It was parked.
And that's all he said? He didn't give you any details, or
No.
who was driving it, or how it got
He
blown?
said the engine was blown. It was parked.
What about use of your phone? Did he ever talk to you about using your phone?
No.
Nothing further here.
Miss Watt, you don't have any questions for this witness?
No questions, Your Honor.
I have a brief redirect, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Sir, while you were in jail at Stryker, right, that's where you were, you talked to Shandon Groom on jail calls, didn't you?
Mhm.
Is that a
Yes.
yes?
Yes.
And when you talked to him on jail calls, he was calling you from your own phone number. Isn't that true?
No, it's not.
Are you sure?
Positive. How can he call in on my cell phone when you can't call in on Stryker? I thought he could call out on
Okay.
Stryker number
Who
one.
were you calling out to? You,
My girl, Antiana Joshua.
all right, are you telling me that you were calling out of the jail and making recorded jail calls
Mhm.
and that you were never talking to Chico at that 4931 number that was, and sir, I want to stop you for a moment. Do you understand that this is a capital case?
Yes.
And do you understand what the penalty for perjury is in a
Yes.
capital case?
Yes.
Do you understand you have the
Yes.
potential of life in prison?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to ask again.
Mhm.
When you called out of the jail to your phone number that you put on the record earlier and spoke to Shandon Groom at that number, didn't you?
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
I do not recall.
Okay.
Only person I recall.
No,
talking
sir,
to
I'm-
on my
I-
phone.
Your Honor,
That's,
but-
wait, he doesn't, she can't, he can't, you can't try to tell your side of the story. You have to answer her questions. And then if they want to clear it up, they can do that, okay?
Mhm.
Okay,
And
yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
sir, you were asked, had you ever been to Belleville when you talked to the police back in November of 2020? And your answer to that was no, correct?
Your Honor, I'm going to object. This goes beyond the
It does. Go-
scope of cross-examination.
Absolutely does.
Ms. Shackelford,
Judge, it's
She
one
can-
question.
It's still
I'll-
goes beyond the scope.
she can go beyond the scope limited.
Sir, you told police back in November of 2020, when you were interviewed by Michigan State police officers, you told them on that date that you did know Tim Moore through Groom, who was his cousin. Isn't that
But
true?
that was after I got out of jail. That was after I got out of jail. Before I went to jail, I didn't never
Okay.
meet Tim. I never heard of Tim a day in my life.
All
I
right,
didn't
that's
never,
fair.
Never.
So when you're in court on June 7th of 2017, right?
Mhm.
The only one you brought with you was Mr. Groom, right?
Yes.
And the judge tells you you're going to the back, right?
Yes.
Where were your car keys?
In my pockets.
What did you do with them? Did you
The
take them?
sheriff took it out of my pocket and gave it to Mr. Groom.
Okay, and you saw that?
Yes. Everybody.
Okay. And when you got out of jail in November, you had a conversation with Groom where he told you, oh yeah, the engine's blown on the truck and this is where it's parked, correct?
Yes. That's when I got out of jail. Correct.
Okay. No further questions.
Anything else? Tim, who's taking him out?
I'll think.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Richardson, you're gonna go with Officer
That's a
Garcia.
good question.
If I may have a moment, Judge.
You can't really ask me a question. What is it?
About like all my properties.
Oh, ask Officer, as Officer Garcia is taking you out, ask him and then he can talk to me about it and then I'll get an answer for you,
Okay,
okay?
thank you.
Josh. As soon as Joshua is done testifying. And Your Honor, I'm just contacting my next.
No,
next
that's
witness.
fine.
Ms. Johnson, can you go ahead and come on in the back? Thank you.
What's the name of the next witness?
And Antiana Joshua, I think it's Antiana. Joshua is Joshaway.
Thank you.
So when I ran some records, there was
That's the right file.
But I want to make sure this is.
make sure we identify.
My name is Antiana.
Come on, right here. And when you get there, if you can face me, can you raise your right hand?
Okay.
Solemnly swear from the testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
You can have a seat, and when you sit down, since we're social distance, you can leave the mask on if you're more comfortable, but you can take it off if you
Okay.
want to.
All right, thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Shackelford.
Good morning, ma'am. Hi, I'm over here. It's kind of weird. Ma'am, can you state your name for me?
Yes, Antiana Joshua.
Okay, Miss Joshua, do you know an individual by the name of Arthur Richardson?
Yes.
All right, can you tell me who is Arthur Richardson to you?
He's my kid's father.
All right, have you been in and out of a dating relationship with him for some time?
Yeah, about 11 years.
Okay, about 11 years. Do you recall, Miss Joshua, back in 2017, Mr. Richardson did some jail time?
Yes.
Okay, and do you recall, ma'am, what Mr. Richardson's phone number was in 2017?
Yes.
Can you tell me what it was?
419-206-4931.
Thank you. And, are you familiar with an individual named Shandon Groom?
Yes.
All right, and do you know him by something other than Shandon Groom?
Chico.
Chico? Okay. And do you know an individual by the name of Tim Moore?
I didn't realize it until later on after the detective explained it. So yeah, I really didn't know his name was Timothy Moore.
Did you call him anything else, or?
I never really even spoke to him.
All right, did you just know that did you know if he had a relationship with Shandon Groom?
Yeah, I know that.
Do you know what that relationship was?
They were cousins.
Okay. And do you know Shandon Groom well?
Well, yeah, well.
All right.
Through Arthur, that's his friend.
Okay. And has he been friends with Arthur for a long time?
Before I even met Arthur, yes.
All right, so has Shandon Groom been to your home before?
Yeah.
And do you recall back in 2017 if Shandon Groom was married or had a relationship with anyone?
Yes.
And do you recall who that person was?
Charmaine.
Okay. And let me ask you about, are you familiar with an address on 14th Street?
14th Street, downtown, yes.
In Toledo, I should be more specific.
Yes.
Okay, and are you specifically familiar with an address of 322 14th Street?
Yes, that's Arthur's mom's. Well, she lived there, yeah.
She lived there? She lived back there in 2017?
Yeah.
And do you recall where you were living in 2017 when Arthur went to jail?
I was living with his mom.
Okay, you were at mom's?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, I want to talk to you about around June 7th of 2017. Do you recall that day when Richardson went to jail?
I do, but then again, I didn't know nothing about it because me and Arthur had our own differences going on.
Okay.
So I know he had court that morning, and then I got a phone call stating that Arthur was arrested from court.
All right, who'd you get that call from?
Chico called me and Arthur called me from jail.
Okay, and when Chico was calling you, let me ask you, during that time when Richardson was in jail, from June to November of 2017, you continued to have contact with Shandon Groom, is that correct?
No.
You don't recall having contact with him over that break?
I did maybe like once or twice, but
Okay.
that was it.
Do you recall meeting with police back in November of 2020, November 5th? Some officers came to your house,
Yes,
you sat in the
yes,
car?
Yes.
Okay, and you remember you talked to them, you gave an interview, right?
Mhm.
And do you remember in that interview telling them that you had continued contact with Chico while Richardson was in jail because he was looking after you and the kids?
Yeah, he checked on us, but I only heard from him like twice the most.
Okay. So 2 contacts from June to November to you is continued contact?
Yeah.
All right. And when Richardson went to jail, who had his truck?
The day he went to jail, Chico had the car,
Okay.
but other than that, I'm not sure. I know
Alright.
he had it that day.
All right, and Chico had his phone too, right?
I'm not sure if the phone was where the phone was, or if Arthur
Right.
handed him the phone, or if it was left in the car.
Ma'am, do you recall making a statement to police back on November 5th? And they specifically asked you who had Richardson's truck while he was in jail. Do you recall being asked that question?
Yes,
Okay, and do you recall giving the answer at that time that Chico had it?
yes, because all I knew is that he had it that
Okay.
day, so I don't know
Ma'am.
anything after that.
And you also told police that he had his phone, is that correct?
The phone was handed to him with Arthur property when Arthur went to jail.
All right, ma'am, I'm gonna ask you to listen to this clip and tell me if this jogs your memory.
Yeah, I guess he needed I don't know. He had like his, he was in his car and stuff, and then he needed to call him for him to like, I don't know, like he basically was like looking out after me and my kids while Arthur was gone.
So Chico was looking out?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when did,
So in that statement that we just heard, that's you, right?
Yes.
And you told police back on November 5th of 2020 that Chico had his truck while he was incarcerated, yes or no?
Yes,
Okay, and you told police on that date that Chico had his phone as well, right? Because he needed to call him, meaning Richardson needed to call Chico, is that correct?
I'm not sure if he was calling him from that phone. Chico had his own phone, so.
Okay, you were asked about that, and you said you didn't know if Chico had his own phone. You
Yeah.
remember saying
Well,
that?
he called me from a number, so I'm guessing that was his number.
He called you from Richardson's phone too, didn't he?
No,
Are you, ma'am? Do you understand you're testifying in a capital case?
yes, he
Okay,
didn't call me
ma'am,
from
let me finish,
Richardson's
because I think
phone.
this
Wait,
is important.
hold on just a second. You'll be able to answer, let her ask
Oh,
the
okay.
question and then we'll go from there,
All right.
okay?
Ma'am, this is important, okay?
Mhm.
You understand this is a capital case. Do you
Correct.
understand that you're under oath?
Yes,
Do you understand what the penalties of perjury are in a capital case?
yes,
Do you understand it's life in prison?
yes,
If you are charged with perjury, for perjuring yourself on the stand, that could be the sentence on that. Do you understand that?
yes,
Okay, so you told officers in November that Chico had Richardson's truck and his phone, right?
yes.
You told officers back in November that,
Your Honor, I'm going to object. We have not had this witness declared as a hostile witness, and she's saying they're badgering this witness.
And Judge,
He's intimidating her and badgering her.
I'm
She
gonna-
testified, I'm sorry, Ms. Johnson.
no, go ahead.
She testified that she knew where the truck and the phone were that day. And she said beyond that, she didn't know. And that's not contrary to what she told the police.
I'm gonna what's your objection?
I'm joining the objection, and I'm also objecting because the prosecution continues to cut off the witness. Just because they don't like her answer, they're not letting
And
her answer.
what I'm gonna do it, first of all, as far as, you're right, she hasn't been declared as a hostile witness, but her question was a yes or no answer. It wasn't a leading question, so it's not leading, but let her answer and just take it down just a notch right at this moment.
Judge, at this time, I would ask to have the witness declared as a hostile witness.
I'm going to object.
Well,
She's gonna-
I'm not going to do it at this moment. Ask her the question.
Ma'am, back in 2020.
Or wait a second, you just asked her, is it true that he had the phone and the truck? And she said yes.
Okay.
So now what's your next question?
My next question is, understanding what we've gone over, isn't it true that did you have contact with Shandon Groom through Arthur Richardson's phone number during that time that Arthur Richardson was incarcerated?
I did not.
And didn't you tell officers that when Art got out, Chico gave him the phone back?
Your Honor, if she's going to be playing something else, I think it's more proper to ask her whether she knows.
Well, she
Well,
just
I did.
did. She didn't answer. Did you tell the police that he gave him his phone back when he got out?
I know when he got his truck, I believe the phone was inside of his car.
Okay.
Inside the truck or inside?
Inside the truck, yeah.
And so Richardson got his truck back from Shandon Groom. When
Objection,
he
Your
got
Honor. That assumes a fact that's not in evidence.
Your Honor, I think that's what she just said.
Sustained. That's not what she said. She said when he got his truck back. I mean, the prior testimony was that the engine was blown, so it's sort of not possible to give somebody a vehicle back.
Do you know when Richardson got out of jail, how did he get his truck back?
He went around there and got it. Well,
Around
he couldn't
where?
get it because it was broke down. But we went to one of his houses he owned, and he went and the truck was parked in the driveway.
Who owned?
Arthur.
And that's on Bloom Street.
Yes.
I need just 1 second. No further questions.
Ms. Joseph.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
You didn't know Timothy Moore back in 2017, did you?
No,
And you had never talked to Timothy Moore in 2017, did you?
never. I really still don't really know him.
Okay. So it's fair to say you really don't know Timothy Moore even today, right?
Right.
Okay. And you absolutely did not know Timothy Moore back in June of 2017, did you?
Never even seen him.
And you never gave Mr. Moore anyone's cell phone back in 2017, did you?
No.
And as far as you know, Mr. Richardson, he also didn't know Timothy Moore back in 2017, if you know.
No, he didn't.
And as far as you know, Mr. Richardson, back in 2017, you never saw him give Mr. Moore a phone, right?
He didn't know a Mr. Moore.
Okay. And you didn't see him give Mr. Moore a truck or keys to a truck, right?
Never knew a Mr. Moore.
And as far as you know, back in June of 2017, Mr. Moore did not have Art Richardson's phone or truck, right?
No, never knew him.
And it's fair to say that you don't know who had the truck on June 22nd, 2017, right?
I don't know. I know who had it the day Arthur was arrested, and that was it. Like, I had bigger problems going on at the time. I had 2 kids. Arthur was in jail. I had school. I had to go to work. I had a lot of stress. So,
Understandable. You had to take care of yourself.
Right.
Now, you gave some statements to police, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
Yes.
And about when was that?
I guess November.
So it was quite a bit ago, right?
Right.
And of course, you've continued to live your life since then, right?
Correct.
Okay. Is it fair to say that you were nervous when you were talking to police?
Yes, I was, because I have never been in that situation before. I've never been in this situation ever. So yeah, it was traumatizing.
Okay. And it's fair to say that you may not remember every single thing that you told police back in November, right?
Correct.
Okay. And on June, I've heard either June or 6th or 7th. Do you recall what date it was that Art went to jail?
Honestly, I don't know, because me and him was on a rocky end at that moment. So
Okay.
otherwise, I probably would have been the one to go to court with him. But being that me and him wasn't kind of like speaking that much, so yeah.
Understandable. So you were not with Mr. Richardson in court when he went to jail in June of 6th or 7th of 2017, right? Okay, so you didn't see anybody get or take over his phone.
Correct.
Okay, and you didn't see anybody get or take over his keys that day, right?
Right.
And that's because you weren't there, right?
Right.
Okay. Nothing further, Judge.
Mr. Goldstein?
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Joshua, I don't want to cover the same things that she did, but I do have a couple of questions.
Okay.
All right. Between the time that Mr. Richardson went to jail on June 7th, 2017, until he got out of jail on the 14th of November, did you see the vehicle?
I seen it the same day that Arthur was arrested.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Between those 2 dates?
No, I never.
Okay, never saw it. And your understanding is that he recovered it from the location of one of his houses in
Yes,
Toledo?
he did.
It was parked there or sitting there?
Yes, it was sitting there.
And your understanding is that the phone was in the vehicle?
Correct.
I don't have any further questions.
Ms. Watt, you don't have any questions, do you?
No questions.
Ms. Shackelford, any follow-up?
Just one. So, Ms. Joshua, when you made those, I understand you've never been in this position before, right? But when you made those statements back in November 2020, you knew you were talking to police, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you knew it was important to tell the truth, right?
Correct.
So when you talked to police back in November 2020, were you making truthful statements?
Yes, I was.
Okay, were you, sorry.
And I also I was trying to understand why Arthur was arrested. And I'm like, I was so flabbergasted over that. I just wanted him to get, out of jail because he didn't do anything. Like, he was incarcerated at the time.
No, I understand that, but you're talking to police and you're being truthful with them, right?
Correct.
All right, no further questions.
Officer Garcia, if you can, he's gonna walk you back out,
Okay.
okay?
All right. What do I do next?
She'll take, and you're excused. So I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
She's excused, everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
What
So
does
just
that mean?
follow the
That means
officer.
you're all set to go, Ms.
Oh,
Joshua.
okay.
Ms. Shackelford, who's your next witness?
We're gonna call Danielle Moss.
What's the name?
Danielle Moss, it's Mauss.
First name Daniel?
Danielle.
Danielle, I got it.
Danielle, you're needed.
Come on up. Okay, I'm right here. And when you get there, if you could raise your right hand. Solemnly swear from testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Have a seat. And once you sit down, since you're social distance, if you want, you can take your mask off, or if you feel more comfortable, you can leave it on.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead, Ms.
Good morning,
Shackelford.
ma'am. Can you state your name for the record?
Danielle Moss?
Okay. Ms. Moss, do you know an individual by the name of Timothy Moore?
Yes.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes.
All right.
Judge, we would stipulate to identification for purposes of the exam.
So stipulated.
How do you know Timothy Moore?
We have kids together.
All right. Are you in a dating relationship?
Yes.
All right. Let me ask you, do you know an individual by the name of Shane Evans?
Yes.
All right, how do you know Shane Evans?
He's related to him on his mom's side.
All right, related to who?
Timothy.
Okay, and do you know how are they related?
I think by marriage.
All right, are they like brothers, cousins?
Yeah, brothers.
Brothers, okay. And do you see Shane Evans in the courtroom today?
Yes.
Miss Watt, will you stipulate to identification?
Yes, I would stipulate for exam purposes on. Thank you.
So, and do you know an individual by the name of Shandon Groom?
Yes.
All right, and does he go by another name?
Chico.
All right, and how do you know him?
He's Tim's cousin.
Okay. And you indicated you were familiar with an individual, Shane Evans, right? Had you ever been to the home where Shane Evans resides?
Yes.
All right, and can you tell me where that home was?
I do not know the address. It's in Belleville, Michigan.
All right, do you remember what road it's on?
Judd
Road? Okay. And how many times had you been to that house?
Quite a few.
And do you know who else resided in that house with Shane Evans?
His father,
What's his name?
Cecil.
And do you remember in 2017 if you would have visited that house on Judd Road?
Yes.
All right, and who would you have gone to that house with?
Timothy.
And was Shane Evans generally present when you went there?
No, not all the time.
In this 2017, do you recall if Timothy Moore and Shane Evans were associating with each other?
I don't really recall, to be technical, no.
Do you recall, ma'am, that you gave a statement to police on, you remember you met with an officer McDonald on November 5th?
Yeah.
All right, and do you recall telling him that during that time it was normal for Moore and Shane to hang out together?
Possibly, yes.
And do you know, ma'am, an individual by the name of Nicole Dillard?
Yes.
All right, how do you know Nicole Dillard?
Timothy would do tattoos on her house
All right.
in 2017.
All right, is she somehow related to anyone, if you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
And do you know an individual by the name of Felicia Dillard?
Yes.
And who is that?
Somebody Timothy Moore is dating, or, yeah.
Okay, and was he dating her in 2017?
No.
Are you sure?
I don't know. You're right. I don't know.
Okay. And do you know where Nicole Dillard lives?
No.
All right, do you recall when you gave that interview to police, they asked you where she would have lived in 2017?
Yes.
All right, and do you recall giving an answer?
I said off of Dorr Street.
All
I'm
right.
not familiar
I'm sorry, I
with
didn't understand the answer.
Dorr Street is what I said.
And do you recall saying that was near Collingwood?
Yes.
All right, and is that in the city of?
Toledo.
Toledo, thank you. And do you know to this date if Nicole Dillard still resides in that area?
No, I do not.
Do you know if Nicole and Felicia are related?
Yes.
Do you know how?
Oh, they have the same last name.
And do you remember back in 2017, were you familiar with Shandon Groom at that time?
Not really, no. I kind of just started dating Timothy in February, so I was just kind of meeting them.
Would that be February 2017?
Correct.
Okay, and when you met with police in November of 2020 and gave that statement, were you being truthful?
Yes.
All right. And do you recall specifically being asked about Chico or Shandon Groom and if you knew what his relationship was in 2017?
I was asked how their relationship was. They didn't really specify at the time, I feel like.
I'm sorry, that was a really bad question. I'm going to ask again. Do you know if Shandon Groom was married in 2017?
I believe so.
All right. And do you remember what his wife's name was?
Charmaine.
Okay. I just need 1 second, Judge. And in that month of June of 2017, Was Moore residing with you at that time? No. Okay, do you know where he was residing?
He wasn't really residing anywhere.
All right. And I don't want you to give me a street address, but where were you residing in June of 2017?
West of Michigan.
Okay, west of Michigan. And would that be with family members?
Yes.
Okay. Specifically your mother?
Yeah.
I have no further questions.
Thank you. Good morning, Danielle.
Hi.
You just testified that in June of 2017, you didn't really know where Timothy was staying, right?
Correct.
But you know that he stayed at Nicole Dillard's house at some
Yes.
point in 2017, right?
Yes.
And specifically in June of 2017, he stayed at Nicole Dillard's house
Yes.
a few times at least, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you had picked him up from Nicole Dillard's a few times, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, back on June 12th of 2017, Mr. Moore and Mr. Evans were in a very serious car accident, right?
Yes.
I'm sorry, what was that date?
June 12th, 2017. And you saw Timothy after that car accident, right?
Yes.
And Judge, at this time, I would like to approach the witness with a potential exhibit, if I might. And I have you.
Has everybody seen it?
I've not, but I will. Okay.
And I'm sorry, who was in the accident?
Timothy Moore and Shane Evans. Is that right, Ms. Moss?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Take a look at that. Judge, I don't know if your courtroom has exhibit tags or not.
She
but-
does.
Okay, I'll probably need one. And Ms. Moss, this picture in front of you, this picture is how you saw Timothy after the accident on June 12th, 2017, right?
Yes.
Okay. And does this picture fairly and accurately depict or show what he looked like on June 12th, 2017?
Yes.
Okay. And you saw him that day, June 12th, 2017,
Yes.
right? And Your Honor, at this time, I would move for the admission of this photo for exam purposes.
No objection.
It's admitted.
And may I publish it to the court?
Yes.
Okay, now, June 12th, 2017, that's about 10 days before June 22nd, 2017, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, and in this picture and on that date, do you recall Mr. Moore having a neck brace on?
Correct.
Right? Okay, and he was obviously in the hospital that date, right? Okay.
Yes.
And it's your understanding that Mr. Moore was seriously injured
Yes.
on June 12th, 2017 from this car accident?
Yes.
And what kind of injuries do you recall him having?
Shoulder, ribs, neck. Is what I can recall.
Okay. And it's your understanding he's in a hospital gown in this picture because the paramedics actually had to cut off his clothing to get to him so urgently, right? Okay.
I'm going to object. Does the witness have personal knowledge of that? Were you present? Was you present at the hospital to make that statement?
Not until I didn't enter the hospital till after they were.
That's fine, Judge. I'll move on. Ms. Moss, you saw Mr. Moore quite a lot after the accident, right?
Yes.
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 Is it fair to say you saw him just about every day in the first 10 days after that accident?
Yes.
And during those first 10 days after the accident, did you witness Mr. Moore in a lot of pain?
Yes.
He couldn't move around very well in those first 10 days after the accident, right?
Correct.
And at some point, you even had to help him get up off the couch, right?
Yes.
Okay, and that's because he was so injured he couldn't physically get himself up, right?
Yes.
And you recall him having pain in his ribs and shoulders specifically, right?
Specifically, yes.
And that pain lasted for quite some time,
Yeah.
right? And did you have to wrap him up in medical wraps every night around his rib area?
When he asked, yeah, he preferred being wrapped up in those, I don't know what they're called to be technical.
Okay. Would you say they're like maybe medical bandages?
Yeah, like the ones you just buy from the store that wrap around you with the Velcro.
Okay. You obviously have had a close relationship with Mr. Moore since 2017, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you've been through ups and downs like any good relationship has, right?
Yes.
Okay. And on June 22nd, 2017, Mr. Moore never mentioned anything about a murder, did he?
No.
And he never mentioned anything about a robbery gone bad, did he?
No.
And he never mentioned anything about having a plan to go and steal anything from anybody, right?
No.
And to this date, Mr. Moore has never mentioned anything to you, the person he has a close relationship with, about ever murdering Miss Covington, right?
Correct.
And you've never overheard him talking about it, have you?
No.
Now going back to June of 2017, specifically June 5th, 2017, Mr. Moore had two twin daughters born that day, right?
Yes.
And they were premature and had some health complications, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so back at that time, do you remember Mr. Moore spending a lot of time at the hospital with those twin girls?
Yes.
And would you say he spent about 3 to 4 times a week at the hospital in Toledo with his twin daughters?
Yes.
And they were in the hospital for quite some time, weren't they?
I believe till like the end of July.
Okay. So those twin daughters were in the hospital from June 5th, 2017 to sometime at the end of July,
Yes.
right? Okay, so it's your understanding that on June 22nd, 2017, Mr. Moore had 2 twin daughters in the hospital in Toledo, right? What kind of hours would you see him normally go to the hospital?
During the day, at night, all different hours. Sometimes depends on my work schedule, because if he wasn't with me, he'd be there usually.
It wasn't uncommon for him to go later in the evening to the hospital, right?
No.
I might have one more minute. And just one last question. Ms. Moss, you've never seen Mr. Moore drive a blue Dodge Ram that might belong to an Art Richardson?
No, I don't remember.
Nothing further.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Watt, anything?
Just a couple questions, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Ms. Hi. You indicated that you were aware that an accident took place that involved my client and Mr. Moore.
Yes.
Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you've described being made familiar with the injuries that Mr. Moore sustained in that accident.
Yes.
Did you have any contact with Mr. Evans after that?
Yes, they shared a room.
Okay. And do you know, would it be fair to say that Mr. Evans had pretty serious injuries from that accident?
Yes.
Are you aware whether Mr. Evans actually had to undergo surgery for his injury?
I'm not aware.
Okay. And do you have any knowledge of how long Mr. Evans remained in the hospital with his injuries?
At least 24 hours, but I'm not exact on the exact time.
Do you know if Mr. Evans checked out of the hospital after or before Mr. Moore? Do you have any knowledge of that?
After.
After.
Yes.
And you've also indicated that in your statement to the police did you indicate to the police that Mr. Moore and Mr. Evans had contact with each other in 2017?
Yes.
Okay, but you didn't give the police any specific dates or time frames?
No, because I can't remember.
Okay, so it could have been at any time?
Yes.
Okay, and when you gave the police that information, you weren't specific about any month of 2017?
No, the only day specifically was June 12th because I remember that day, so.
Okay, so that would be the only day that you have an actual recollection of? Okay, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Just a few. Miss Mouse, so is it Mouse or Moss?
Moss.
Sorry. Miss Moss, so you know that Mr. Moore had this accident on June 12th, right?
Yes.
And how did he get out of the hospital?
I picked him up.
All right, and you knew he wasn't allowed to leave, right?
Correct.
Okay. and when
Objection, Judge, relevance as to whether he was or wasn't allowed to leave the hospital. It's not relevant to this case.
What
Well-
do you think the relevance?
Well,
is?
Your Honor, I do think it's relevant, and Your Honor, I do think it's relevant because a lot of questions were asked specifically about Timothy Moore's medical condition. And I think where I'm going with this is I want to ask her more questions about that. And I certainly think if an individual is able to get out of a bed and abscond from a hospital,
I don't know that abscond is the right word, even if you decide on your own that it's against medical advice, maybe
Okay.
is a better, I mean, it's not a criminal act, Ms. Shackelford, it's if you just.
Judge, he was
Well, let me ask
absconding.
you-
Judge, I'd object now.
Wait,
Now
let me
specify.
hold it. Miss Moss, is it Moss?
Moss.
You took, you picked him up,
Correct.
correct? And he left before he was officially released by doctors?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, that's your answer.
Okay. And you indicated he had this shoulder and rib and neck injuries, and you were shown this photograph when he came out to your car. Did he ask you to come get him?
No, I came in.
Okay, and when you came in, did he leave the hospital with this neck brace
Exactly
on?
like that, yes.
All right, he had all these cords on
Yes.
him. Did he take a pole with him?
No.
Okay, so did he have IVs?
I don't remember.
And do you know that Mr. Groom has a Facebook account?
Objection
I'm gonna
outside the
object, Your Honor.
outside the scope of redirect.
She said she doesn't have a Facebook, so it's academic.
So is it your testimony that after this June 12th crash, through the month that, how long was he injured and couldn't get off the couch?
I don't remember.
Okay. And you testified earlier when I was asking you questions that he wasn't living with you in June, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you weren't the one necessarily nursing him back to health. Is that fair?
Not technically.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean as in, he stayed with Nicole, he stayed with me. After the accident, he stayed with me more. No, he did not like being in the state of Michigan, so that's why he did not live with me 30 out, you know what I mean?
And how long was it that he couldn't move or couldn't get off the couch?
Objection, Judge asked and answered. She asked that question. The answer was she doesn't
She
recall.
doesn't recall.
Okay. And ma'am, do you recall when you talked to Officer McDonald back in November when you had that interview I've asked you about earlier? You remember you told him in that interview that Shane Evans was playing hurt?
Objection, Judge. This is outside the scope of redirect. I didn't ask any questions about Mr. Evans.
She's not the only one that asked questions, Your Honor. Defense counsel for Mr. Evans
I
specifically.
agree, and I'm gonna allow it.
I'm sorry, but
Do you recall telling officers when you were interviewed in 2020 by Officer McDonald, do you recall making the statement that, no, I'm sorry, you know what? Yep. Do you recall making a statement that Shane Evans was playing hurt for a
Yes.
lawsuit? And with respect to when Mr. Groom would or would not have been at a children's hospital.
Your Honor, I'm going to object. There was never any testimony about Mr. Groom being at a children's.
Oh, I'm so
Mr.
sorry. It's
Moore.
Mr. Moore.
Mr. Moore.
with respect to Mr. Moore being at this children's hospital in the summer of 2017, is it your testimony that did you go to the hospital with him?
Yes.
Okay, and did you go to the hospital with him every time he went?
Not every time.
Okay.
Almost every time.
And he wasn't always living at your house?
Correct.
Okay, so you don't know what he was doing when he wasn't at your house?
Correct.
Okay. No further questions.
Nothing,
I
nothing,
have
Ms. Watt.
Yeah.
Did you, I'm sorry, Ms.
Yeah, I just have one brief question.
Go ahead.
Ms. Moss, when you saw Mr. Moore on June 12, 2017, he was wearing this neck brace, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you testified earlier that you saw him just about every day in June. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing further.
Ms. Watt.
Thank you. Ms. Moss, I just have a few questions for you. Do you have any medical training?
A little.
And what is the nature of that medical training?
Just a CNA.
Okay. Are you a physician?
No.
What about a registered nurse?
No.
And a CNA is a certified nursing assistant.
Correct.
Does that designation allow you to diagnose medical conditions?
No, it does not.
Okay. So when you saw Mr. Evans, he was in the hospital, correct?
Correct.
He had been admitted, correct?
Correct.
You don't know whether or not he had surgery, do you?
Correct.
And when you left the hospital, he was still in the hospital, correct? Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
And what hospital was Mr. Evans admitted to? Do you recall?
St. Joe's. St. Joseph's in Ann Arbor.
So would it be fair to say that you don't have the medical training to determine whether someone is been seriously ill? You can't make that diagnosis, can you?
Correct.
So when you told the police that Mr. Evans was playing hurt, that was just your opinion, correct?
Yeah, my own feelings.
I have nothing further, Your Honor.
Officer Garcia, you're gonna go with the officer and you're all set. We can release her, correct?
Yes.
Everybody. Shackelford, who's your next witness?
Nicole Dillard, and she's with Matt, if you can text him.
Nicole Dillard?
Correct, Your Honor.
And if you can come right here. And when you get here, if you can raise your right hand. Solemnly swear affirm the testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God. Have a seat. If you want, you can, if you're comfortable, we're social distance if you want to take your mask off, okay? Or you can leave it on if you want, whatever you're comfortable with.
May I, Your Honor?
Yep, go ahead.
Ma'am, can you state your name for me?
Nicole Dillard.
Okay, Miss Dillard, do you have some sisters?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you tell me who your sisters are?
Patricia Dillard, Lavinia Dillard, and Jennifer Hall.
Okay, and does Patricia Dillard have a name she goes by, a nickname?
Blackie.
Okay.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, she's
You-
so soft.
Yeah, you're gonna have to, you know, when you're little and they talk about an outside voice, you're gonna have to, yeah, you gotta be louder. Your voice is super soft. And so, see that lady back there, raise your hand, Miss Watt. Yeah, she's gotta be able to hear you, okay? And that microphone in front of you doesn't amplify. So you literally just have to speak up.
Ma'am, do you, and your sister Lavinia Dillard, is that how you pronounce that?
Yes, ma'am.
And does she have a nickname?
Brady.
And Jennifer Hall, isn't the other sister you mentioned?
Yes,
What's
ma'am.
she go by?
Big Jen.
Okay. And can you tell me, do you know an individual by the name of Felicia Dillard?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell me, is she related to you in some way?
Yeah, she's my cousin.
Okay, whose daughter would she be?
She's my mom, twin sister, daughter.
Okay, okay, your mom's twin sister's daughter, okay. But she's not Lavinia, Jennifer, or Nicole, right? That's,
She what?
Felicia's mother is not one of your sisters.
No, she's
Okay.
my auntie.
Okay. And do you know an individual by the name of Shandon Groom?
Yes, ma'am.
And who is he to you?
My nephew.
All right, and you see him in court?
Yes, ma'am.
Both stipulate, Your Honor.
Oh, thank you. And I want to take you back to 2017. Do you recall, was Chico married at that time?
Yes, ma'am, I believe so.
All right, and who would he have been married to?
Charmaine.
Last name?
I think her last name is Johnson or something.
And do you remember in 2017 where they lived?
Off Bancroft somewhere.
You remember you met with police officers and gave a statement to Officer Craig McDonald?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and when you made that statement, do you recall giving an address you thought was 401 Bancroft?
I told him I didn't know the address. I just gave him the name or like the description of the apartments.
And ma'am, I want to take your attention back to June 22nd of 2017. You remember talking to Officer McDonald about that night?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And I want to ask you, did you work on that day?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
So,
And do you recall about what time you would have gotten home?
I don't remember if I worked mornings or night shift. I was thinking like I got home like 4 or something, I believe, because I had to pick my kids up from daycare first.
And when you got home, do you remember some people already being at your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was there?
It was my nephew, Shandon, Timothy,
I heard nephew, and I didn't hear what you said after that.
Shandon, Timothy.
And when you say Timothy, you're talking about Timothy Moore?
Yes, ma'am.
Or do you see him present in the courtroom?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge will stipulate to identification.
And were any other people at your house when you got there?
Yes, my sister Patricia and my sister Jennifer.
Okay, and do you remember telling officers that Reddy was there, which you've indicated is your sister Lavinia?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And do you recall, let me ask you this, do you know the relationship between Shandon Groom and Timothy Moore?
Cousins.
Cousins, okay. And when you got home that day, what were Shandon Groom and Moore doing at your house?
Timothy was going to do tattoos.
Okay. Did he do tattoos?
Yes.
Did you get a tattoo?
No.
Did other people that were there get tattoos?
Yes.
All right. And you remember, did you guys do anything besides get tattoos?
No.
And do you remember, ma'am, at some point, did you ask everyone to leave your residence?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And do you know approximately what time it was that you asked them to leave?
No, ma'am, I don't remember what time it was.
Okay, do you remember when you spoke with Officer McDonald, telling him it was, past
getting
dusk or
nighttime.
getting dark?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And at that time, did Timothy Moore and Shandon Groom leave your home? All right, and when they left your home, did they leave together?
Yes.
All right, and do you recall what type of vehicle they left in?
No, ma'am, I was still inside.
All right. And after they left your house, did your sisters, Jennifer and Nicole, or I'm sorry. Did Jennifer and Patricia and Lavinia leave?
Yes, everybody left.
Everybody left. All right. And did you see Timothy Moore or Shandon Groom after they left your house that night?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know if they came back?
No, ma'am. So I went to sleep.
Okay. And did you have any contact with Felicia Dillard or Patricia Dillard about them asking you to be an alibi for the defendants?
What?
Objection, Judge. It's asking for a question that's going to end up calling for hearsay. What someone else asked of this witness is not relevant to this case. So both hearsay and it calls for hearsay and relevancy.
I'll withdraw the question. I have no further questions, Judge.
Ms. Joseph.
Thank you. Good morning, or I think afternoon maybe now. Good afternoon, Ms. Dillard.
Still morning.
Still
It's
morning.
Still
still
morning.
o'clock.
Okay.
It seems like it.
Good morning, Ms. Dillard. Okay, on direct exam, I believe you testified that you don't remember if you worked the day or night shift on June 22nd, 2017, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you don't know what time you were working on June 22nd, 2017, right?
It was the day shift, because it's still like daylight when I got.
Okay, but I think when the prosecutor was asking you said you didn't remember, right? So is your testimony today that you don't remember when you were working on June 22nd, 2017?
I thought the question she asked me was it day or nighttime when they left?
Okay, so do you recall what time you were working on June 22nd, 2017?
I don't remember. It was Friday day shift. I got home, it was still daylight out.
Okay, all right. Do you remember when you were working on June 23rd, 2017?
No, ma'am. That's
Okay.
a long time.
I know it's a long time.
I don't even work there no more.
Okay, yep, I trust me, I know it's a long time ago. And in fact, it was almost 4 years ago, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and it's true that you don't remember what time it was that Mr. Moore left your house on June 22nd, 2017, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you don't know if it was 10, 11, 12, you don't know what time it was, right?
Not the exact time, no, ma'am.
Okay, and you didn't see them walk out together and get in a car together that night, did you?
I don't know if they got in the car together. I was in the house with my kids.
Okay, so you didn't see Mr. Moore and Mr. Groom get into any car together, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay, and for all you know, they got in separate cars that night, right?
Impossible. I don't know. I didn't go outside.
Okay, and you stayed inside the whole time when they left,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Kids.
Okay. Do you remember what color shirt you wore on June 22nd, 2017?
Yes. I had on scrubs.
Scrubs? Okay. Do you remember what you ate for dinner on June 22nd, 2017?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And so it's fair, it's true that it's possible you don't actually remember if Mr. Moore left your house that night, right?
Yes, they did leave my house. I put everyone out. I had to go to work the next morning early. I have toddlers. I was
Okay.
tired.
All right. But you don't know where Mr. Moore went that night, right?
That wasn't my business, no.
So no, you don't know,
Ma'am.
right? Okay. And you don't know if he went anywhere with Mr. Groom that night, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And Mr. Moore stayed a lot with you, stayed with you a lot of times back in 2017, right?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so your testimony is today that he never stayed with you in 2017.
No, ma'am.
Okay, and so if there's other witnesses that say they picked him up from your house because he was staying with you, are they lying or are you lying?
They lying.
Okay. So your testimony, just so I'm crystal clear, is that Mr. Moore never stayed with you in 2017.
No, ma'am, he never stayed with me.
Now, did you tell police, and are you saying today that Mr. Moore never stayed with you in 2017 just because you don't want to get involved in all this? And I would understand if you said that.
No, ma'am.
No? Okay. And you're certain he never stayed with you at all in 2017?
No, ma'am.
Okay. He did some tattoos in your house though, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And he would post those tattoos on Facebook, right?
Yeah, his page, I don't know.
Okay. Nothing further, Judge.
Mr. Goldstein.
Ma'am, I'm not trying to pin you down, but want to talk about the time a little bit. When you got home, it was still daylight, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it was probably late afternoon because you had to pick up your kids from daycare, is that right?
No, my kids was there. I had to go to sleep. I was exhausted
Okay,
from
sorry,
work.
sorry. I thought you said something about your kids in daycare. Earlier. I apologize. This is June. Do you know, so it was getting dark later at that point in time, wasn't it?
Yes.
Probably 7, 8, 9.
I don't know what time it was.
But it was not early, yeah.
Dark, yeah.
And it was around dusk, I think you said, when Mr. Moore and Mr. Groom left, is that right?
Yeah, like started at nighttime. Yes.
Okay, so it had been later, they'd been there for a few hours then.
Yeah.
And during that time that they were there, could you overhear conversations that were going on among the people that were there?
No, man. No, sir.
Didn't hear anybody talking about anything?
No.
So if I were to ask you whether you heard any conversations about a robbery or planning a robbery or anything like that, your answer would be no, you didn't hear that.
Correct.
Sorry?
Correct.
And just to clarify, when you testified on direct that Mr. Groom and Mr. Moore left together, what you mean is you saw them walk out the front door together.
Yes, sir.
Where they went once they walked out the front door, you have no idea.
No, sir.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Watt, anything?
No.
Any follow-up, Ms. Shackelford?
Just 1 second, Your Honor. No further questions.
Did I lose Jamie? Go ahead, come in. Officer Garcia. I'm gonna have you go back out with the officer, okay, and then you're free to leave. Ms. Shackelford, who's the next witness?
Your Honor, people are gonna call Lindsay Briley.
Spell the last name. Is it S-A-Y or S-E-Y?
Judge will have to
It's
ask her,
fine,
I'm
that's
sorry.
fine. What's the
His
last name?
last name is B-R-I-L-E-Y.
Okay, you are recorded. Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, can I just go speak with an officer, just really briefly?
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Hey, Michelle. Yes.
May your client be taken to the men's room? He has been trying
You know
to
what, I
hold
just, can you,
Thank you, Your Honor.
you're welcome. I was just thinking about that, Ms. Watt, if anybody has to, you gotta let me know, people. Does anybody know, I have those 4 capital attorneys on call, apparently. Are they in Judge Martin's courtroom? Do you know? Can you check with, because if they're here, I think these were the 4 that we needed. I don't know if we're gonna release them. Ms. Shackelford, you know, we had this issue with having these attorneys on call. Were those for?
They're excused.
That's what ma'am, can you raise your right hand?
Yeah,
Solemnly swear from the testimony you'll give in this matter will be the true self God.
I solemnly swear.
Have a seat. We're waiting on one of the defendants here to use the restroom. Have a seat.
Okay.
Will you check and see if they had attorneys? Go check in the courtroom number 1. Heather's not here, so I don't know how else. I may need Mariah. Because we can release them, Tim. Go find out. There should be 4 attorneys sitting in Judge Martin's courtroom, and we can release them if they are, but find out for me.
I'm sure they'd appreciate that.
I'm not even sure. I think they're here. We're supposed to have them, but I guess I started this morning without double checking.
May I have a water? Your Honor, do we have a water for the witnesses?
I seen it when I walked in. Can I point out where, when you turn that corner, there's ice.
If there's something in there, grab it.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Sneaked real hard.
And since you're sitting and you're social distance right after she hands it to you, you can take off the mask if you want.
Okay.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Moore, are you good or do you?
Sure, that's.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I don't have any, we should have them, my wipes or stuff. Okay, are we good? Ms. Shackelford, go ahead, the witness has been sworn.
Ma'am, can you state your name for the record, please?
Lindsay Ray Briley.
Miss Briley, I want to ask
How do you spell your first name?
Lindsey.
Last name Briley?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Miss Briley, did you know back in 2017 an individual by the name of Egypt Covington?
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell me, how did you know her?
I met Egypt in 6th grade at North Middle School.
Okay, and in the summer of 2017 or June of 2017, did you have a friendship with her at that time?
Yes.
Okay, and ma'am, do you specifically recall the date of June 22nd, 2017?
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell me?
That was a Thursday, correct? June 22nd, 2017 was a Thursday. Sorry, I remember things better by days of the week.
Yeah, I
than
believe
do.
it's a Thursday, but I'm. Plumber, do you know?
Sorry, you guys.
Yes.
How
Okay. No, it's okay. So did you see Miss Covington on that day?
Yes.
And can you tell me how it was you saw her?
We went to yoga together.
Okay, and do you know where you went to yoga?
At Starseed Yoga in Canton.
Okay, and do you know what cross streets that's at?
Canton Center and Ford.
Okay. And do you know approximately what time you went to yoga with her?
I met her there for the second class, so I would have got there around 7:30, 7:40.
Okay,
And she was there for both classes, so she would have got there like 6:30.
all right, so.
That's
and
at
then-
night, PM.
PM, yes,
And so you went to that 7:30 yoga class with Miss Covington?
7:45.
7:45. And do you know what time that class would have ended?
8:45-ish.
All right, and when class ended, what did you do?
Well, generally class would end a little late and then we would take our time to get up anyways. And then we went to the parking lot and we chatted about life. Honestly, right now, I can't recall much of it.
Okay. And do you know, so you got out of class at 8:45? Is that fair?
Yeah.
All right, and do you know how long you may have been in that parking lot having a discussion afterwards?
Maybe we left around 9-ish.
Okay. And did you speak with Miss Covington any time after 9 p.m. on June 22nd? No? Okay. And you indicated you've been friends for years. Were you familiar with Miss Covington's residence?
Yes.
And can you tell me where that residence was?
On Hall Road.
And would that be in what city or township?
It's in Belleville, or something, I guess.
And let's do this. I'm going to show you what's been marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 12. It's the residence. Ma'am, approaching, Your Honor. Can I have
Go ahead.
permission
Yes.
to approach? Okay, thank you. Do you recognize what we're looking at in that photo, ma'am?
Yeah.
What's that a photo of?
Egypt's house.
All right, and do you see can you tell me a little bit about how, you've been there a lot, can you tell me how the house is laid out?
Positively.
Okay.
At the time of her death, when you walk in the front door, then there's two other doors. And then the left one was Egypt's and then the right one was Megan and Steve's.
Okay, and does that photo, and I understand, I'm not asking you about what's on the porch or what's in front, but just, does this home accurately represent, let me finish, okay? Does it accurately represent how the house looked on that date, other than whatever might be sitting in front of it?
Yeah.
Move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 12.
Any objection?
No objection for exam purposes only.
No, Your Honor.
No,
It's admitted for exam purposes.
Okay, and then you
Shall we do
indicated
that?
when you go to the residence that the first thing you see, so is it a duplex?
Yes.
All right, and when you go to it, is it like one of those duplexes where you can go to either door? All right, do you have to go through a threshold first?
Yeah, the first one.
Okay, and I'm gonna show you a photograph. This is People's Proposed Exhibit 13. Do you recognize this area? What is on this photo? What is this photo?
Their front door.
All right, when you say their front door.
Megan, Steve, Egypt's front door.
Okay, so let me ask you this. If there are two homes inside there, right? This is the front door to both of the sides of the duplex.
You actually have to say yes or no.
Yes.
Thank you.
You know,
Yes.
thank you.
And this is the front door that you would enter to get to either of sides of the duplex?
Yes, that is the front door you would use to enter.
Move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 13.
None for objection purposes, for exam purposes.
Same, Your Honor.
Same, Your Honor.
It's admitted for exam
Thank you.
purposes.
And Your Honor, permission to publish as I go?
Go ahead. Have you seen these? Do you want to see them?
I've seen them, Your Honor.
We've seen that. And ma'am, I'm going to show you here what I have marked as People's Proposed Exhibit 15. Do you recognize what's in this photo?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and what am I looking at in People's Proposed 15?
You are looking at, once you open the front door, the two doors that reside within the walk area. I don't know what you call that.
The
entry, the front entry.
Okay.
That'd be the front entry to the two doors.
All right, and I'm not asking about what's hanging on the wall, but other than that, does this accurately represent how that area would have looked in 2017?
Yes.
All right, and ma'am, do you see over on the right here, this, move for admission of People's Proposed 15?
Ms. Joseph?
No objection.
No objection, Your Honor.
SWAT?
No objection, Your Honor.
And, thank you, Judge.
Go ahead.
And do you see here this door that looks like it's open? Would that have been the front door that you opened to get to the two doors?
Yes, that's the front door you would use.
And when I look at this photograph, I see a door on the left. Back in 2017, whose door was that?
Egypt.
All right, and I see a door on the right. Whose door was that?
Megan and Steve's.
All right, and do you know Megan's last name?
Megan Kopic and Steve Edwards.
All right, and do you know, did Egypt Covington have a relationship with Megan Kopic and Stephen Edwards?
Yes.
All right, can you just briefly explain the nature of that relationship?
Friendship.
All right.
I mean, we've all been friends for years.
Okay. And were Edwards and Kopic in a dating relationship?
Yes.
All right. So the door on the left, Miss Covington's, door on the right, Edwards and Kopic.
Yes.
Permission to publish.
Thank you.
Now, had you been in Miss Covington's, how frequently would you go into Miss Covington's residence?
Pretty frequently. I would say at least once a week.
And do you recall the layout of her apartment and what it looked like on the inside?
Yeah. Yes.
Approaching Your Honor with People's Proposed Exhibit 9.
Go ahead.
Ma'am, I'm showing you a photo. Do you recognize where this photo was taken?
This was when Egypt and Kyle Kopic lived together, and this was their house, yeah.
All right,
And we
so
were in Christmas.
So when you say Kyle Kopic, is Kyle Kopic related to Megan Kopic?
He is Megan Kopic's little brother.
All right, and did he live on the side of the duplex with Egypt?
Yes.
Okay, and do you see these, like, what is this that looks to appear to be around a door?
Christmas lights.
All right, and were you, was this picture necessarily taken at Christmas time?
The Christmas lights were always there. I think this was a Christmas party, but the Christmas lights were generally there.
All right, and where is that door inside Miss Covington's home?
That's the back door.
Okay, so what room of her home would that back door be in?
She was an open layout for her living, dining, kitchen situation.
And do you recall, were those lights there in the summer of 2017?
To my memory, those lights have never left that door.
Okay. And Your Honor, I'd move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 9.
No objection.
Mr.
None, Your
Goldstein?
Honor.
Ms. White?
No objection.
Admitted for purposes of exam.
Just a few more. Ma'am, I want to ask you just briefly, so the last contact you've testified was on the night of the 22nd around 9 p.m., right? Yeah. Did you talk to Egypt Covington after that time at any time?
No.
Okay. Did you at some point learn that something had occurred?
Yes.
All right. And what did you learn had happened?
I learned that she was dead. Do you want me to just break that down or?
No, let me ask you, did you learn that through, how did you learn it?
I learned that, so Megan Kopic's parents own the duplex, Gloria Kopic and Robert Kopic. Gloria Kopic called me to say that she heard that Egypt was dead because the police were going to the neighbor's house saying that. And the neighbors, Tracy Mercer, Dale Mercer, we went to school with their kids. We all been to school with each other for years, so, yeah.
And did you go to that home?
Yes,
Egypt's home?
Yes, I did.
All right, and do you know approximately when you got that notification and went to her home?
I was off of work. I had to drive home from Novi, 7 p.m.-ish, maybe.
And when you got to the location, were any other friends or family gathered there?
Mr. Kopic was there, Robert Kopic was there. The Mercers were like to the side. Curtis was there in his truck with police officers. And no.
Okay, who's Curtis?
Curtis was Egypt's boyfriend.
Now, you indicated that you had been in Miss Covington's apartment once a week at that time?
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna approach with People's Proposed Exhibit 29B. Ma'am, do you recognize what's in this photo?
Yeah, that's the back door to Egypt's house.
Okay, that's the back door is that the back door you said normally had Christmas lights on it?
Yeah.
Okay, and does this photo accurately depict how her living room looked in June of 2017?
Yeah, she really just had a couch and the TV and workout stuff.
Okay. And obviously this big blacked out area there wouldn't have been there, is that correct?
Correct.
But other than that, it accurately looks like it did then?
Yes.
Move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 29B.
No objection for
No
exam
objection.
purposes.
No objection.
It's admitted.
And ma'am, do you see this table that this TV is on?
Yes.
Had that been there at the time in June of 2017?
Yes.
Okay. Permission to publish.
Thank you.
And Miss Briley, when you went to that residence on that day, are you also friends with Stephen Edwards and Megan Kopic?
Yes.
Okay, did you on June 23rd, when you went to the scene, after you learned of Egypt's death, did you go into Egypt's house on that day?
Not on that day, no.
Did you go into Stephen Edwards' house on that day?
On the 23rd, that Friday, no.
Okay. At some point, do you recall looking in on dogs?
Yes, I did on Saturday. I would have went on there.
Okay, so that would have been the 24th? All right, and can you tell me what you were going there to do?
To let the dogs out on the right side, Megan and Steve's side.
Okay. And you're going and do that?
Yeah.
All right, did you see any marijuana in their apartment when you went in?
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell me where you saw it?
If I remember, to the best of my memory, right? If I remember correctly, there would have been like shaky, not like great marijuana, but shaky marijuana, like in buckets, kind of there, maybe like orange Home Depot buckets to the side. Like if you walked into their house, it's laid out differently now, but at one point it was a mirror. So when you walked into their house, it would have been just like kind of by the kitchen, living room entry area.
All right,
Can I just clarify? You're talking about in Megan and Steve's.
And Megan and Steve's house,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
And those buckets, you said like, are you talking about like Home Depot? Like, I don't know how many gallons they are buckets?
5-gallon Home Depot.
All right, and do you recall approximately how many of them there were?
Just a few, maybe 3,
Okay.
4 maybe.
Okay. I just need 1 second, Judge. Miss Briley, did you know a phone number for Egypt Covington in June of 2017?
Yes.
Okay, and do you know what that number was?
It ended in 7090.
And just 1 second, Your Honor. No further questions.
With Joseph.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Now, Ms. Briley, you don't know Timothy Moore, right?
No.
And you obviously spent a lot of time with Ms. Covington,
Yes.
right? And you spent a lot of time with her back in 2017, right?
Yes.
And during all the time you spent with her, she never mentioned Timothy Moore, right?
No, ma'am.
And you never saw her hanging out or talking to Mr. Moore back in 2017, right?
No, ma'am.
And in fact, you've never seen or heard her talk about Timothy Moore ever, right?
No.
As far as you know, she did not know Mr. Timothy Moore, right?
As far as I know, she did not know Timothy.
And I think previously you've agreed that, you know, like many women, we sometimes develop a type of attraction to certain types of men. And I think previously you indicated she might have a type where she typically liked older white men. Is that right?
Yeah.
Just in general, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously my client does not fit that type of man that she might be attracted to, who might be an older white man, right?
I mean, I don't like to talk for people. Out of her two main relationships, yes, they were older white men. Did she date other men of color or women or other people? Yes. So.
Okay, thank you. You last saw her on June 22nd, 2017, and it was your understanding that Curtis Meadows was going to be moving in with her soon, right?
Yes.
Okay, and she, I think, wanted to clean up her part or her house before he moved in, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so you didn't actually see her house on June 22nd, 2017, right?
No.
Okay. And so you don't know what, if any, cleaning she might have done or if she would have moved anything around that day, right?
No. Yeah. I would not have known if she did anything that day, correct?
Okay. You testified that on June 24th, 2017, you went to take care of Steve Edwards' dogs.
Yes.
In the right side of the duplex, right?
Yes.
Okay, and on that date, you didn't see anything that seemed to be kind of out of place, right?
It looked the same as it always did.
Okay. So nothing was knocked over or anything like that looked as if someone had came in and robbed the place, right?
No.
And there was marijuana that was still there when you went in, right?
Yes.
Okay, but I think you said that marijuana was marijuana shake. Is that correct? How you would describe it?
I mean, yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Ms. Covington was a well-liked woman, wasn't she?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as you know, the only person that she had any issues with was a Kenny Mihalik, right?
I mean, everybody had issues with everybody. So, I mean, to say the only person that existed in the world that she had issues with was Kenny McCulloch wouldn't be true. But at the time of her death, for our knowing, yes.
Okay, and you've told that to police before during interviews, right? That you told police that the only person that you could think of in the world that would have issues with her was Kenny, right?
Yes, but also given the stance of the investigation, that was everybody's notion and what they were being given.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that just about everyone thought it was Kenny who murdered her, right?
No, not everybody.
Okay. So it sounds like you're saying most people suspected that it was Kenny who murdered her.
I don't like to speak for other people.
Okay, well, I'm just asking because your testimony said, you know, given the information we had, that's what everybody thought. It was
Given
kind of
the
my
information at the time that we were being given by police, Van Buren police, that was what the notion was. But I understand that things change over time too.
Back in 2017, not many people had the code to Miss Covington's front door, did they?
No.
Okay, you didn't have the code to her front door back in 2017, right?
No.
Okay, but Kenny did have the code to her front door back in 2017, right?
I can't guarantee that.
Okay, so if you told police in previous interviews that you knew that Kenny had the code to her front door,
I said
true?
in previous interviews I believed he should have it, but I said I didn't know then
Okay.
too.
So is your testimony today then that you believe that he likely had her code back in 2017?
Yes.
Okay. And do you also believe that he, back in 2017, watched her dog Ruby a lot?
Yes.
Okay. And he, in fact, watched her dog while she was out of town, right?
Yes.
And that was in her house, right?
I don't know for sure.
Okay. There were some arguments between Kenny and Miss Covington about a Tina Fitzsimmons. Are you aware of those?
Not like the degree of them or like what was said, if you will.
Okay, but you're aware that there was,
Arguments, yes.
okay. You're also aware that about a month before Miss Covington's death, Kenny, I'm sorry, strike that. You're aware about a month before Miss Covington's death that she got into a car accident, right?
Yes.
Okay. I can relate. I have bad luck with cars, so I understand that.
Same.
And after crashing her car, it's your understanding that she drove Kenny's spare car.
Yes,
Right.
like a Mercury or something, if I remember, maybe a Buick.
Okay. And then shortly before her death, it's your understanding that Kenny paid for a down payment for her to get a new vehicle, right?
Yes, or helped her with one.
Okay. All right. So he gave her some money to get a new vehicle, right?
Yes.
Okay. And she actually drove that new vehicle to the yoga class you all did together on June 22nd, 2017, right?
Yes.
Okay. And it was your understanding that they weren't dating on June 22nd, 2017, right? Her and Kenny.
They were not dating.
Okay. And did you find it strange that they weren't dating, but he was giving her money for a car?
She said that they were still friends.
Objection, hearsay.
I'm not asking, my question didn't call for hearsay. I'm asking for her opinion, but
Give me the question again.
my question was, did you find it strange that they weren't dating, yet he gave her money for a down payment on the car?
What's your objection?
Well, I was more objecting to the response to the question where she started the question with, she said.
Oh, yeah. She asked for your opinion.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you can give her your opinion, but not what Ms.
Okay.
Covington said.
Okay.
Understand?
Yep, that makes sense. They were friends.
Okay. Was it your understanding that Kenny wanted to be more than friends with Miss Covington?
I don't know.
Okay, so based on your conversations with Miss Covington, you have no idea whether Kenny wanted to date her or not.
And Your Honor, I guess I'm going to object to hearsay.
Well, it's already asked and answered. She said she doesn't know.
Yeah, and I can't answer it without saying she said.
It's,
I'll move on. Kenny and Miss Covington, they had some fights that you're aware of, right?
Yes.
Okay, and there were times when Kenny punched holes in walls, right? Sorry, what was it?
Yes.
Okay. And there were many times when he would drink, become intoxicated, and fight with Miss Covington, right?
Yes. Yes. I saw him drink, but again, this is like a she said situation. I think that's traveling that way.
Okay, I'm just asking.
Okay. No, I want to make sure I answer it right too, so you know.
Okay. And were you at the Strawberry Festival a week before Miss Covington's death with her?
No.
In your opinion, was Miss Covington physically strong?
Yes.
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
Mr. Goldstein.
Thank you.
Ms. Briley, in the time prior to her death, Ms. Cummings' death, did you ever hear her use the name Shandon Groom?
No.
I'm going to ask you to look at the gentleman seated on your left side from where you're sitting, my right side. You ever seen this gentleman before?
No.
No, never saw him around Egypt or around the house or anything like that.
Not to my memory, sir.
Okay, I have nothing further.
Ms. Watt.
I just have a couple of questions, if you don't mind.
Thank you.
How are you this afternoon?
Good, and yourself?
I'm well, thank you. You've indicated that you were at Ms. Covington's home on the 24th. Would that be fair to say that
Yeah.
you were there?
Yes, ma'am.
Prior to the 24th, do you recall when the last time you had been at her home?
I wouldn't be able to give you a date, probably sometime prior that week.
Okay. And when you say you were at her home, did you go inside of her home?
Yes.
Can we just have clarification are you asking about the 24th or the week before?
The week before.
Okay.
She said the week before.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Any
Just
redirects?
one. On the 24th, you were just asked, did you go into Miss Covington's home? On the 24th, did you go into her home?
No.
All right, did you go to the duplex?
Yes.
But whose house did you go into?
Megan Kopic and Steve Edwards' house.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Officer Garcia, you can go with the officer, and you're free to leave.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Shackelford, who's your next witness?
I'm looking right now.
Oh,
to
okay.
See who I have out there. I
Yep,
just
no,
need
that's
1
fine.
second.
Got to use the bathroom. Can you let him go? Ken?
Your Honor, the people are gonna call Caitlin, K-A-I-T-L-Y-N, Covington-Cree, C-R-E-E. I believe it's hyphenated.
Okay.
And
Caitlin, K-A-I-T-L-Y-N.
You got something?
No, I'll give you a call. Then you can call it.
I think so.
Like the last thing I need.
I think it goes.
Okay, I just last thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Just turn it off. Do you want me to turn it back on? Yeah.
Yes.
Right here, ma'am.
Yes.
If you could raise your right hand.
Yes, ma'am.
Solemnly swear affirm the testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a seat, and then, if you're comfortable, you can take off your mask.
Oh, I can?
Yeah, but if
Okay.
you want to leave it on, you can, but it's your choice.
Okay, thank you.
Whatever, you're welcome.
Good, almost afternoon. Good morning, ma'am. Can you state your name for the record?
I am Caitlin Elizabeth Cree.
Okay, so is Covington still part of your last name?
I know, but it will be changed again soon.
Okay.
It's my maiden name.
And Cree is C-R-E-E?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, ma'am, do you know an individual, or did you know back in 2017 an individual named Egypt Covington?
Yes, that's my sister.
Okay, and when we say Egypt Covington, was Egypt a nickname?
Yes, it was one of her middle names.
All right, do you know what her full name was?
Jacqueline Elizabeth Egypt Covington.
And what was her relationship to you?
That was my sister. I was adopted in 2006. 5, yeah.
So did you grow up with Miss Covington?
Yes, I've known her since I was 15.
And what was your relationship like with Miss Covington in the summer of 2017?
She was my best friend.
Did you see her regularly?
Yes, ma'am. She was the goddaughter to my child, and she would watch her regularly.
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Gee, Ms. Cree, I know it's, the microphone in front of you does not amplify, it only records, and everyone in the courtroom has to hear you, so you're gonna have to keep your voice a little bit up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
My apologies.
No, yes, so just loud and clear.
Yes, ma'am.
So you indicated that you had a very close relationship with Miss Covington that summer of 2017.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you reside locally at that time?
I did. I lived in Canton.
Okay. Did you go to her home?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you know how, from June 22nd of 2017, do you know how far back it would have been that you went to her home the last time?
I saw her right after our family vacation. So it was like right after we got back from that. So it was like the end of May when we got back.
And when you say family vacation, was this a big family vacation?
Yeah, it was all, well,
When
my
you,
sister Jessica, my parents in Egypt tonight.
okay.
So yes.
And do you know when that trip would have been?
It was like around May 17th.
And when you got back from that trip, you indicated that's the last time you went to Miss Covington's residence?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and this is a duplex she resides at?
Yes, ma'am.
And let me ask you, have you ever personally, with your own eyes or your own ears, ever witnessed a fight between, or an argument or dispute between Kenny Mihalik and Egypt Covington?
No, only what she told me.
Okay. And have you ever witnessed any arguments or disputes, or heard or seen any arguments or disputes with a man named Curtis Meadows?
No, ma'am.
Just what you've been told, if anything?
No, she never complained about Curtis.
So, had you ever been around Miss Covington and Kenny?
Yes.
All right. And you've never seen any blow-ups or arguments between them while you were with them?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Ma'am, do you see the three men dressed in green in this courtroom today?
Yes.
Okay, do you know any of these individuals?
No, ma'am, I do not.
All right. Have you ever seen any of them before, other than maybe what you've seen on TV since this case started?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Had you ever seen Miss Covington interact or hang out with any of these three individuals?
No, ma'am.
Miss Covington, do you recall, did you have contact with Miss Covington on June 22nd of 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell me what was the nature of that contact?
It was through Snapchat.
All right, did she send you a Snapchat or was it?
She sent me some, and then there was a few on her story.
All right, and do you know the Snapchat she was sending you, do you still have those?
I just have the one I took from her story.
Okay, and is that because, why don't you have the ones that she sent you?
Because I couldn't replay them.
Okay,
Or I would.
Snapchat kind of disappears?
Yes, the story one was the only one that was left.
Okay, and sometime on June 23rd of 2017, did you learn that something had happened to your sister?
Yes.
All right, and do you know, when you learned that something had happened, where did you go? What did you do?
I went straight to her home.
Okay, and when you went to her home, did you go in the house?
No, I was not allowed.
All right, do you know approximately what time it would have been that you were out front of that house?
Around 9.
Okay, and were there police officers available or around the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, were there other friends and family members outside the scene, if you recall?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and is that when you would have taken a copy of that Snapchat?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and do you recall what date she sent or posted this Snapchat on her story?
June 22nd.
Okay, and do you know approximately what time it was posted or what time you saw it?
I saw it early in the morning on the 23rd before I went to work is when I originally saw it, and it says like the hours of when it was posted.
All right. And when you took the photograph of it, did it also say how many hours ago it was posted?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, approaching, Your Honor, with people's proposed Exhibit 8. Do you recognize this photograph, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
And what am I looking at here?
Well, this is the date and the time of which I took the screenshot itself.
Okay, let me ask you this. This picture that's in here, is this a screenshot of your phone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we see up at the top a date of June 23rd, 2017 at 9:12 p.m. What did you do at that time?
I was at her house in front, I think I just talked to Lieutenant Bazzi, and I was about to give my statement.
Okay, and what am I looking at on this Snapchat?
Well, she was watching a movie.
Who's she?
Egypt was watching a movie. I know it says Eliza, but that was my nickname for her. She even had it tattooed on her body.
Okay, so you called you called Miss Covington Eliza.
Yes, and she called me Eliza because of our middle names.
And is that how you had her saved in your device?
That's how I still have her saved in my device.
Okay. And so do you recognize what is in this Snapchat?
I know that this is her TV on her stand. I don't know what movie this is, but
Okay.
this is her TV on her stand.
And did she write anything on the Snapchat?
Yes, I effing love this movie.
Okay. And down here at the bottom, just so we're clear, there's like a bunch of, looks like photographs. Is that just from your
That's
phone?
my phone. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that we could see this of when I took the Snapchat because it does say 22 hours. So I wanted to make sure that the time was also included in the picture.
Okay, so the time you took the photo was 9:12.
Yes, ma'am.
And at that point, Snapchat said it was 22 hours ago that she had posted that.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And did you provide this to law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 8.
No objection for exam purposes.
Your Honor, I'd like an offer of relevant. How is this relevant?
I think it's highly relevant, Your Honor. It goes to the timeline when Egypt Covington is last interacting with her.
For purposes
device.
of what her, you know, in her last communication, at least on her phone. Ms. Watt,
No objection for example.
I'll admit it for exam purposes.
And I just want one more question. You indicated that this is the you recognize this as the table her TV sat on?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And so in your opinion, this photograph would have been taken by Egypt in her home?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just save one. Do you recall, did you have Miss Covington saved in your phone or a contact in your phone back in 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall what her phone number was back in 2017?
I only have her personal number memorized. She did have 2 cell phones.
All right.
It's 7, oh, do you want me to?
Yep, go ahead and tell me what that number was.
734-730-7090.
730?
Yes, ma'am.
7090?
Yes, ma'am.
And ma'am, you indicated Miss Covington had 2 phones?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and you were aware of that?
Yes, ma'am.
The 7090, what phone was that?
That was her personal.
All right, and the other phone that she had, did you have that phone saved in your phone?
It is still saved in my phone. I just do not have it memorized.
And what was the nature of that other phone?
It was her work phone.
All right, and do you know where she worked in 2017?
Rave.
Rave, okay. And what's that company?
It's a beer and wine distributor.
So she had a work phone and a personal phone.
Yes, ma'am.
And the 7090, when you contacted Miss Covington, is that the number you would generally use to contact her?
Yes, ma'am.
No further questions.
Ms. Joseph.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You testified earlier, you don't know my client, Mr. Timothy Moore, right?
Correct.
And you have never heard Miss Covington talk about a Timothy Moore, have you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You've never heard about Miss Covington hanging out with Timothy Moore, right?
Correct.
Okay, and you've never heard about Miss Covington hanging out with other people who were with Timothy Moore, right?
Correct.
As far as you know, Miss Covington did not know Mr. Moore, right?
She knew a lot of people that I did not know, so correct.
Okay. Now, Snapchat, I'm guessing you're familiar with it.
Yes, ma'am.
Like most people these days, right? Now, Snapchats can actually be posted after the time that they're taken, right?
Yes, now, I don't remember back in 2017 if we could do that or not.
Okay, but in general, a Snapchat could be posted at a different time than when it's taken, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you weren't with Miss Covington on June 22nd, 2017, right?
Correct.
So you don't actually know when this Snapchat was or was not taken, right?
Correct.
And the Snapchat, it says 22 hours ago, right?
Yes, ma'am.
But Snapchat doesn't say, 22.25 hours ago, right? It rounds up or down typically, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we don't know if this was 22 hours and 59 minutes ago, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and Snapchat wouldn't say if it was 22 hours and 59 minutes ago, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you didn't talk to Miss Covington on June 22nd, 2017, right?
I didn't talk to her?
Yes.
Just through Snapchat earlier in the evening. I go to bed super early. I work early in the morning, so.
Okay. Other than this Snapchat, this was the only communication you had with Miss Covington on June 22nd, 2017, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And was this sent to you or posted on her story?
That one was posted on her story.
Okay. And you had no phone calls or text messages with Miss Covington on June 22nd, 2017, right?
Correct. I had to think about that just because I had an interview on the 23rd.
Okay. Did you have conversations with her on June 21st, 2017?
If you recall.
If I recall, I believe so, because it was discussing my job interview.
Okay. Was there anything that stood out to you about that conversation you had with her on June 21st, 2017?
No.
Was it strictly about your job interview, or did you talk about other things?
Strictly my job interview.
You testified that she has two phones, a work and a personal phone,
Yes, ma'am.
right? What does the work phone look like? Let's start with what type of phone is it?
It was an Apple.
Okay, what color?
Believe black. Believe black. I'm not for sure. She had cases on her phones.
Okay, what did the case look like
It
on
was
her
black.
work phone?
Black, I believe.
Okay, did it have any markings on it?
Not that I can recall.
Okay, what about her personal phone? What kind of phone was her personal phone?
It was also an iPhone.
What color, if you know?
No, I can't recall.
Do you recall if she kept a case on her phone?
Yes, she always dropped things. So normally,
I can
yes,
relate.
ma'am, she did.
Okay.
I mean, occasionally she would, but for the most part, yes.
And what did the case look like, if you recall?
I don't recall.
Don't recall. Okay. Nothing further, Judge.
Mr.
No
Goldstein?
questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Watt?
No question.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Officer Garcia? If you go with Officer Rapp,
Yes, ma'am.
he'll take you out, and you're free.
Thank you.
Ms. Shackelford, who's your next witness?
Your Honor, we're looking right now. We're gonna call, Agent, David Face.
Agent,
David, normal spelling, Face, F-A-C-E.
also normal spelling.
Yes. Yep, okay. Judge, can I?
Hello, this is Sir Plummer here.
You can.
All right, thank you.
There's one in there.
There's one right in here.
Mhm. It's in the jury room. Is he getting the neck? I have the minutes for tomorrow too, on top of the files. Give to them and give to the county, and the minutes for tomorrow and for Thursday. Yeah. I think they're all signed here. The day. This we have to get, those guys are less of an issue with police than the county.
Oh, that's the county.
Mr. Right, I'm right. Mr. Moore's up there. Okay, so,
Just give that.
yeah.
The county. County never picks up from here.
So they gotta take.
They always give the people.
Okay, sign it. Get Mariah on the phone and have her figure out where, okay, we have to just let down.
Okay.
Yeah, it's only more, because, well, unless, go ask the MSP if they've got another, if they've got another officer, they've got a separation issue, but if they've got another officer, they could pick them up. Do you know what I'm saying? Can you raise your right hand?
Yes, ma'am.
Solemnly swear affirm testimony you'll give in this matter will be the truth, so help you God.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a seat, agent, and your social distance, so you can leave the mask on if you want, but if you want to take it off, you
Okay.
can.
May I?
Go ahead, Ms. Shackelford.
Thank you. Sir, can you tell me your name and your employment capacity?
My name's David Face, and I'm a parole agent for the Michigan Department of Corrections out of Lenawee County.
Okay, and Back in 2017, did you have a parolee by the name of Timothy Moore?
I did, ma'am.
And this is not an objection, but Judge, normally if this were a trial situation, I'd obviously be asking for a limiting instruction or something along those lines. But at this time, we would just ask the court to not consider any factors
Of his,
Thank you.
whatever his
Of his
incarceration
status at
was.
that time. Thank you.
Absolutely.
You indicated that you had a parolee by the name of Timothy Moore.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you meet with him face to face?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
I do.
We would stipulate to identification, Judge.
So stipulated.
Gentleman on the left-hand side.
Oh, she's agreeing.
She's
okay.
So we know you know.
Gotcha.
So back in June of 2017, let me ask you it this way. When did you start supervising Timothy Moore?
November 22nd, 2016.
Okay. And how long did that continue?
He discharged from parole September 4th, 2018.
And over that time that you had Mr. Moore as a parolee, did he provide you with contact information?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and specifically, can you tell me the number, tell me the number that he provided to you that you had first in your file?
Yes, ma'am. May I refer to my file, Your Honor?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. I have the first number he provided to me on parole was 517-918-5733. A secondary number he gave me, 513-568-8723. I also have 513-545-4993 and 517-403-0642.
And let me ask you specifically about the phone number that ends with 8723, 513-568-8723. Over the course of you supervising Mr. Moore, had you ever had contact with him on that phone number?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and would you call him or would he call you or both?
Both.
Okay. And when you called that number, did Mr. Moore answer?
Yes, ma'am.
Just one second, Judge. I have no further questions.
Ms. Joseph?
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You testified just now that the 513-568 number was provided as a secondary number. What does that mean?
If it was a cell phone he gave me, because at the time we also had the 517-918-5733 number as well.
Okay, so the 517 number was his primary number that he gave you, right?
It was the number he had when he came out on parole to live with his wife at the time.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it was primary. It was the first number he had when he came out on parole.
Do you really know which number was primary in June of 2017?
In June? Well, in June, I believe yes. Okay, so the 517-918-5733 and 513-568-8723 were both numbers I had for Mr. Moore.
And that was in June of 17?
That's correct.
Okay, when did you have contact with Mr. Moore on the 513-568 number?
It would have been numerous times. I don't have time stamps or anything like that, but between January 19th of 17 and June 2nd of 17.
Okay, so, and I'm sorry, you said June 2nd?
Yes, ma'am.
Of 17?
Correct.
Okay, so you don't have any records.
I'm gonna stop you for one minute. What's significant about June 2nd?
He had moved at the time. It would have been on June 2nd, he provided a new residence, and at that time he provided me with a different phone number.
So
go
ahead, Judge.
Ms. Joseph.
No.
So after June 2nd, you didn't have any contact with him from the 8723 number?
Not that I'm aware of, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm just curious. Go ahead, Ms.
Okay,
Joseph.
so on June 2nd, just so we're all clear, June 2nd, 2017, Mr. Moore gave you a new phone number.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? Okay, and after June 2nd, 2017, you had contact with Mr. Moore on a different number, not that 513-568 number.
To my knowledge, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And to your knowledge, you did not have any contact with Mr. Moore after June 2nd, 2017 on that 513 number.
Ma'am, both two of the numbers I gave you were 513.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm talking about
8723, the one that we've been discussing.
the 56.
To my knowledge, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, great. And it's pretty common in yours and my industry here for people to change phone numbers, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Nothing further, Judge.
I have no questions.
Ms. Watt,
No questions, Your Honor.
any follow-up, Ms. Shackelford?
None, Your Honor.
Thank you, Agent Pace. You're free to leave.
Thank you.
You can go with Officer Garcia. Next witness, Ms. Shackelford. Just do all.
We can take all three.
Oh, okay, oh, perfect. Oh, they're not gonna. Oh, they're
Yeah.
how long can we pick all three of them up to her? Okay. I don't have a minute though.
The others were taken out.
These guys are taken out on a writ of habeas. I wonder if they can do all three, if we could have Mariah do a writ for this one. You ask them first if they can. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay.
Ask them first and then ask Mariah, because I think I'll have to get a writ for Mr. Moore. Trying to finagle if we can get Michigan State Police to also bring Mr. Moore in the morning so that we're not waiting on the county is. So if I can end up doing a writ, I'm gonna negotiate so that, do you think that that'll work? Okay, so I'll have to do, I'm gonna have upfront do a writ so that we'll have the 3 writs instead of the MIT that I have from the county, which it says 8:30, but yeah. That doesn't mean anything. Okay, so we'll get it with Mariah this afternoon. And next witness?
Your Honor, the people are calling Stephen Edwards, STEVENEDWARDS. And he's been called. We're just waiting for him to get in.
That'll work. To what time, I know that it's midday still, but can I get everybody here so that we can say, I mean, they were here with the 2 gentlemen at 7:30 this morning, I think. So if we can get people here 8:15, is that possible?
I can, Your Honor, but I'm
pushing.
closer than probably the others.
Yeah, Ms. Watt, Ms. Joseph.
Yeah, no problem, Judge.
Yes.
Whatever time you need.
Yeah, if you can be here around 8-ish, so because I think they're gonna get them here by 7:30, then we can, then hopefully that'll push us through. Ms. Shackelford, is that good with you?
I'll be here, Judge.
Just wanted to make sure it doesn't mess up any of your witness times, if you can.
I'm trying to, Judge, I didn't realize we would go as quickly as we were going, but I did promise you I wasn't gonna belabor it.
I wasn't gonna let you belabor it, so it's.
But Judge, I do have a few, I think we might finish tomorrow. But
I always thought that, but we'll see.
Never know.
Mr. Edwards, but we'll figure it out though. You're good. Can you raise your right hand? Solemnly swear from the testimony you'll give in this matter will be the true self of God.
Yes, ma'am.
Have a seat and you can leave the mask on if you want, but you are social distance. So if you want to take it off, you can. Some people say, you never know how to read people. Some people whip it right off and.
Good afternoon, sir. Can you state your name for the record?
Stephen Michael Edwards.
Okay. Mr. Edwards, I want to ask you, back in 2017, did you know a person by the name of Egypt Covington?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and can you tell me how it was you knew her?
She lived with me.
All right, when you say she lived with you, did she live in a house with you?
No, she lived in the duplex next door.
Okay, and can you tell me the address of that duplex?
45576 Hall Road,
All right, and what do you know, is that in Van Buren Township?
Van Buren Township,
Michigan?
Michigan.
Okay. So I want to take your attention back to June of 2017. Can you tell me, sir, did you have any plans on or about June 22nd of 2017?
Yes, we go to Electric Forest Music Festival. It's in Rockford, Michigan.
Okay, and is this like, how long does this festival go?
5-6 days, from Wednesday to Monday.
Okay, and do you recall so Wednesday would have been June 21st, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall, did you leave your residence on that date?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and who went with you?
Megan Kopic drove with me, and then we met other friends there.
So, let me ask you this, when you're leaving, what day would you have generally come back?
We usually came back either Sunday or Monday morning.
All right, and when you went to this festival, did Miss Covington ever go with you?
She had previously, years prior.
All right, was there any reason why she didn't go with you this year, if you know?
She didn't go with us this year because she had just traveled with her family. She just got back from vacation. So she had started a new job. She didn't want to miss any more time off work.
All right, when you say this year, we're talking about 2017.
Yes.
Okay. And in your friends group or in your social group, were you secretive about going on this trip?
No.
All right. Did you post anything on Facebook about going?
I did. I posted tickets for sale.
And did you have a lawn service that cut the lawn of your duplex?
I did.
All right, and in 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
And can you tell me, what was that lawn service?
A&J Lawn Care.
All right, and A&J Lawn Care, do you know who owns that business?
Yes, one of the owners is my best friend, Antoine Jordan.
All right, and do you know who else runs that?
Johnny Warren.
Okay. And were they cutting your lawn in the summer of 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall if that lawn service came to cut your lawn on June 21st of 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so you do recall?
Yes, ma'am.
Did they come and cut it?
They cut the grass on that Wednesday. I left because I had my vehicle parked in the front yard, putting things in the car from the house. They came in to ask me to move the vehicle, so I remember they were there that day.
Okay, so as you're packing up, this lawn service is there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, do you know anyone else that worked for that lawn service in 2017?
I know a couple of the employees, yes.
Okay, do you see any of them present in court today?
Yes.
All right, can you tell me who you see and who you recognize?
Shane Evans worked for A&J Lawn Care.
Okay, would he generally be one of the people that would come and cut your lawn?
Yes.
Do you specifically recall if he was there on June 21st?
I cannot remember because it's been so far, but it's very likely.
Okay, and you indicated that you were friends with Johnny Warren, right?
Yes.
Were you friends with Antoine Jordan, the other owner? Yes? All right, were you friends with Shane Evans?
No.
Did you ever have Johnny Warren and Antoine Jordan in your house?
Yes.
Did you ever have Shane Evans in your house?
No.
All right. Did you ever smoke weed with Shane Evans?
If I did, it was in passing and never in the house.
All right. Let me ask you a little bit about this duplex. So Miss Covington would have lived on if I'm walking in, she would have been on the left side?
Yes, ma'am.
And you lived on the right side?
Yes, ma'am.
And who'd you live there with?
Megan Kopic.
All right, and that exterior door that you would walk in before you get into the two interior doors, did that door have any sort of special lock on it?
No, ma'am.
All right, did you generally keep that door locked or unlocked?
It was hit or miss, honestly, depending on the time of the day and who was working and who wasn't. It was a
Your
very
Honor,
likely chance.
excuse me, I'm sorry, but his voice is trailing
Yeah.
off.
Can you make sure you keep your voice up? Thank you.
It's very likely the door would have been unlocked.
Okay, and the two
Your
interior.
Honor, I'm going to object to some of these answers because we're getting answers like very likely, which is speculative. And so I'm going to object.
All right, Your Honor, I'll rephrase.
Thank you.
Did you have a habit or a pattern with respect to that exterior door between you and the other residents of that duplex?
Usually how it worked was the last person home at the evening locked the very exterior door. So most of the time during the day or even into the evening, the doors would be unlocked.
And the interior doors, did they have any sort of locks or security on them?
Yes, ma'am, they had numerical locks.
Okay, and did yours have a code and then Miss Covington's have a code?
Both doors had locks.
All right, and when Miss Covington, did she stay home now in 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
And was she going to do anything for you?
Yes.
You gotta let me finish. Okay, it's okay. I know it's like a conversation, but it's just easier. So over this trip, when you go to the Forest Festival on the 21st, had you had an agreement with Miss Covington about her performing any tasks for you?
Yes, while she was home, she was gonna take care of the dogs.
Okay, and had she taken care of the dogs before?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and when we say dogs, do you have some puppies?
Yeah, I had puppies at that time, yes.
Okay, and generally, let me ask you, what was the habit or the pattern that you and Miss Covington and Miss Kopic had with respect to the interior doors?
The interior doors usually remained open while we were home. We were more as, roommates than cohabiting. So when we were home in the evenings, we would generally, if we were all home, we would lock the outside door and leave the two interior doors unlocked or open. And we would travel between either side, cooking on one and eating on the other, or vice versa. Or they were generally, it was open doorway both ways.
All right, and did Miss Covington have a dog?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and how did her dog interact with your dogs?
They got along great.
All right. So would there have been a pattern or a habit with respect to allowing the dogs to kind of run back and forth?
Yeah, they would have had the free roam of the whole house.
And when you say the whole house, you mean both sides of the duplex?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Edwards, did you have a marijuana business in 2017?
I wasn't a business, I was a caregiver, yes.
Okay, well,
Yes.
so you were a caregiver?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you licensed with the state?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you grow marijuana?
Yes.
Do you recall how many patients you had?
Personally, I worked for someone else. They had full patient cards, which would have been 72 plants, 5 patients, one of their own. Myself, I would have probably had between 1 and 3 cards.
Okay, so that would have been 12 plants
12
per
to 36,
patient?
something like that.
Okay. And did you, so you had you had patients that would get marijuana from you?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you grow that marijuana in your home?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have marijuana in your home?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall if you had marijuana in your home on June 22nd, 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you or didn't you?
Yes, ma'am. I did.
Sir, I want to ask you, did you have another incident in early 2017 of someone coming in your house for marijuana?
I had something come up missing, yes.
Okay, so what was it that came up missing?
It would have been extract to make edibles.
All right, so some sort of wax or
Yes.
butter?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and do you know where would you have kept that in your house?
It would have been in a Home Depot pail, which would have been in the laundry room.
Okay, and did you keep anything in your cupboards?
There was 3 ounces of smokable flour within the cupboard.
And did you normally keep marijuana in your cupboard area?
Yes.
And people that you let in, I'm assuming it wasn't just Johnny Warren and Antoine Jordan, right? Did you let other people in your house?
There, we had family and friends, yeah.
And would they have known where you keep
Yes.
this marijuana?
Yes.
Okay, was it common knowledge?
Yeah.
Sir, so you said you kind of left them open and used this duplex as kind of one house, more like roommates?
Yes, ma'am.
So were you in Miss Covington's home regularly?
Yes, ma'am.
And are you aware if she had any Christmas lights as decorations in her home?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and before June 22nd, when's the last time you went into her apartment prior to the finding her, the homicide?
It would have been right before we left, like Tuesday or Wednesday before we left.
All right, and do you recall, did she have Christmas lights up at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And where were those Christmas lights up?
Over the back door.
And what room is that back door in your
The
house?
common state living area, living room, dining room.
Can I, Your Honor? Thank you. Judge, can I see? All right, sir. This is People's Exhibit 9. You recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
Are those the lights she had up?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you see in People's 29B, this door?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the door that those lights are on? Do you
Yes,
know?
ma'am.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Just 1 second. No further questions.
Ms. Joseph?
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Hello, ma'am.
You don't know Mr. Timothy Moore, do you?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And he's never been to your house before,
Not that I know of.
and he's never purchased marijuana from you before, right? You've never smoked marijuana with him before.
No, ma'am.
Okay. It's fair to say you've never talked to him before.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You're not Facebook friends with Mr. Moore, right?
No.
Okay. Now, can you, when this investigation originally started, it's my understanding that you had a very high suspicion that it was a Kenny Mihalik, right?
I was questioned very specifically by the Van Buren Police Department and answered questions very specifically in turn. So the questions I answered were directly related to Kenny Mihalik, yes.
Okay, and you told police before that you thought it was Kenny, right?
I told the police based on my thoughts that I would assume that it would be the angry boyfriend, yes.
Okay. And by angry, you mean because he was often angry with Miss Covington, right?
It just, there wasn't a lot of people that had any ill feelings towards Miss Covington, so there was just process of elimination.
And it was also because Miss Covington and Kenny had some loud fights at times, right?
They did.
And there was specifically a time when Kenny was punching a hole in Miss Covington's wall, and you actually came in to her house, right? And when you came in, he stopped and left, right?
He stopped. He didn't
Okay.
leave.
Oh, he didn't leave?
No.
Okay. All right. Was there a time when you saw Kenny pull a gun out?
Yes, years prior.
Okay. And was that a confrontational situation?
Yes.
Okay. And so from your perspective, and I'm sorry, was Miss Covington there that day? Okay.
This is years before Egypt was even around.
Okay. But you did see him pull a gun out on another person.
I seen him pull a gun out around other people, yes. It wasn't really on anybody when he did brandish a gun.
And it was during an argument, right?
It was during an argument, not particularly pertaining to him, but yes.
Okay, so it was during an argument that he wasn't even involved in, and he pulled
I
his
mean,
gun
he was
out.
involved. It was at his mother's house, but yeah, it was, yeah.
But he wasn't the one arguing?
No.
Okay. And you're aware that Kenny and Miss Covington had a very loud public fight at the Strawberry Festival a week before her death, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that fight was about Curtis Meadows moving in with Miss Covington, right?
I'm not totally positive. I wasn't, she didn't discuss that with me. It was kind of one of those things. I didn't find out till right before I left that even had happened, so.
Okay, but you do know they had a loud public
I
fight
do know
a
that
week
from
before.
third party afterwards, yes.
Okay, and that was a week before her death, right? Okay. And you're also aware that Miss Covington, she had some prior drunk driving type issues, and she couldn't get her own insurance, so she had Kenny put her in car insurance in her name, right?
You know better than me on that, man.
Okay, so if you told police that, did you know when you told
I
police
know
that? I'm sorry, and the way, just for the court.
Go ahead and you ask. You can't both talk at the same
Yeah,
time. So
it's just for
let
the
her
court.
ask, and if you want to clear it up, Ms. Shackelford, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so if you told police back, well, let me start over. You've been interviewed by police multiple times, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and if you told police that Miss Covington had some DUIs, and she could not get her own insurance, so she needed Kenny to get her insurance, and Kenny had her insurance. Is that a true statement?
Yeah, she needed help getting insurance, yes.
Okay, and Kenny got her the car insurance, right?
I think so, yes.
Okay. And that was right around the June of 2017. She was still on his insurance then, right?
I believe so.
Okay. Kenny watched Miss Covington's dog, Ruby, a lot, right?
Yes.
And it is if, in your opinion, he was familiar with the dog, right? Okay. And he had the key code to her front door, right?
Yes.
Kenny being key. Yes, okay. You all, as Ms. Shackelford asked you, you all were very open about going to Electric Forest that year, right? And you talked about going to Electric Forest at a time when Kenny was around, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're openly discussing going to Electric Forest, the dates you're going, and Kenny is there listening to the conversation, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And is Electric Forest, is that something you go to every year?
Generally, yes.
Okay. And when you've gone previously, Miss Covington's gone with you, right?
She had one with us previously, yes.
Okay. And when she went with you, was she friends in some capacity with Kenny?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Mr. Meadows, Curtis Meadows, he never really hung out at your house a whole lot, did he?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And in your opinion, did you think it was maybe, of course, you respected Miss Covington's decisions. She was like a sister to you, but it was maybe a little unexpected that he was moving in at that point in time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But she was a very strong person,
Yes.
Miss Covington was, right? Okay. Is it fair? Now, I think you've previously described her in comparison to Mr. Evans and said that Mr. Evans is like a paperclip to Miss Covington, right?
Yes.
Okay, and what you mean by that is that Miss Covington is a strong
Yes.
woman, right? Okay. Mr. Evans, he never has came in your house, as far as you know, right?
Not that I know of.
Okay. He's never bought marijuana from your house? You've never sold him marijuana at your house? Have you ever sold him marijuana?
No.
Okay. Have you ever sold Mr. Moore marijuana?
No.
Have you ever talked to Mr. Moore about buying, selling, anything related to marijuana?
No.
Okay. Have you ever talked to Mr. Evans about buying, selling, or anything related to marijuana?
No.
And as far as you know, Mr. Evans didn't have the key code to your house, right?
Not that I know of. No.
And he didn't have a key to your front door, right? You saw Mr. Evans after he was involved in a car accident, right?
Yes.
And it was your understanding he was involved in that car accident with Mr. Moore, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you actually saw him walking with a cane in June
Yes.
of 2017, right?
I don't know if it was June of 2017, but I did see him walking with a cane after the day.
Okay. And it was sometime in 2017.
Sometime in
right?
the summer, yes.
And from your perspective, he looked pretty banged up, right? He looked,
Initially, yes.
okay, initially, great. Now, when you left for Electric Forest in June of 2017, you left a TV on, you left a light on, and you left your car in the driveway, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you did that so it looked like someone was at the house, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So as far as you know, if someone was passing by, they would see the TV, the light on, and the car in the driveway, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You can't miss that when you're driving by your house, right? Okay. And so even if someone came from your backyard somehow, they would still see that TV on, the light on, and the car in the driveway, right?
From the backyard, you'd be able to see the light on. You wouldn't be able to see the TV. You wouldn't be able to see the car.
Okay. Were you doing some construction
There
on your
was
house
construction,
addition?
yes.
Okay. And could you see that construction going on from the backyard?
Yes.
Okay, so if someone were to look in, the back door, they would see kind of like a construction site. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. You wouldn't be able to see any marijuana by looking in the back door, would you?
No.
Okay. And especially not the marijuana in the cupboard. You wouldn't be able to see that from looking in the back door, would you?
Okay.
And from looking in the front doors, you wouldn't be able to see any marijuana, would you?
No, ma'am.
Nothing was taken
No, ma'am.
from the home? And when I say nothing was taken from the home, is it your understanding nothing was taken from either side of the home, yours or Miss Covington's?
Yes.
Okay. And it didn't look like anything was out of place in the home
No, ma'am.
After this, right? As far as you're aware, Miss Covington didn't have anything of significant value in the home, right?
No.
You didn't grow any marijuana in your home in 2017.
No, ma'am.
Okay. And I think did you testify you had about 3 ounces of usable marijuana in the cupboard?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. Personal use is what that would suggest, of course, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you didn't regularly sell marijuana out of your house to people, did you?
No.
In fact, you actually had a marijuana grow operation at a different area, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
And that was in 2017.
Yes, ma'am.
So in June of 2017, you had a separate facility where you kept and grew marijuana, right?
Yes,
And that was public knowledge,
yes, ma'am.
right? Okay. And it's your understanding that Mr. Evans actually cut grass there.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so as far as you know, Mr. Evans knew about that facility,
Definitely.
right? Okay, and that facility, it's open to the public for the most part, right?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not like there's a 10-foot barbed wire fence or anything around it, right?
No, ma'am.
So, not to show you any security issues, but, if someone wanted to, they could go into that facility, cut the power lines, break the doors, go right in and have at it with all the marijuana you were growing, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. A lot of people knew about that building in 2017, didn't they?
Yes, ma'am.
And you don't seem like, would you agree with me? You're not exactly a flashy type person who's telling everybody, hey, I got all this weed in my house, I got all this money. That's not your personality, right?
No, we work in the community with Sumter Township. Like, it would have been more known that because I spoke on like the public broadcast station, like things like that. Like, we talked at meetings within the township. Like, it wasn't ever, there's nothing flamboyant because there isn't anything to be flamboyant about.
Understandable. There are other people that grow marijuana in the Sumter Belleville community, right?
Sure they are, yes.
And there were other people that grew marijuana in 2017 in that area, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And within that same area as you, right?
Yes.
In fact, for all you know, your neighbors could have been growing marijuana in their front yard or backyard or basement, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you make it a habit to let strangers come in your house and smoke weed with you?
No.
Okay. Now, can you walk me through going into Miss Covington's home? Okay, it's my understanding you have that first door, and then you have the entrance to her house.
Yes, ma'am.
So once you walk through that first door and you walk to the entrance to her house, what is it that you see?
You're gonna see a wall. You turn left, you walk directly into her kitchen. About 4 more steps from that would lead into the dining room, living room area where the door was shown. Down the hallway would be the bathroom, and then the back part of the hallway would be the bedrooms.
Okay, and so where were the Christmas lights at?
Over the back door.
Okay, so is it true that in order to get to those Christmas lights, you would walk in that front door, the front entrance, and then you'd have to walk into Miss Covington's entrance, and then you'd have to walk by the kitchen that's on the left, and then you'd have to walk through the living room, and then you'd have to continue and walk by the bathrooms over here,
You'd have
and
to
then it
walk
would be
by the
there.
hallway to get to the bathroom. Once you enter the kitchen, the living room, dining room, kitchen area is like an L shape.
Okay.
You could visibly see the back door from 5 steps inside of the first door.
Okay, about how many steps is it from Miss Covington's entranceway to that back door?
Probably 20.
And those lights had been up there for a long time?
Yes.
Okay, about how long?
I as long as I can remember them being Egypt and Kyle moving in, I think is when they initially went up. So years.
And when did Egypt and Kyle move in?
I'm not totally positive on the date. It would have been years previous, like
Years ago.
maybe 5 or 6 years previous to that.
Do you have any idea how those lights were strung up there?
There's a curtain rod. They were draped over that, plugged into the wall behind the TV.
Okay, so they were on a attached to a curtain rod. Is that right?
Laying across it, I believe.
And they were plugged in straight to the wall, or was there an extension cord as well?
It could have been like a computer plug, like a 6 multi-plug, or it could have been plugged straight in. There's a plug on either side of the doorway right there, so you could have plugged on either side.
Nothing further, Judge. Thank you.
Mr. Goldstein?
Mr. Edwards, during the time that you knew Miss Covington, particularly the time that you two occupied the same building, did the name Shandon Groom ever come up in conversation?
No, sir.
I'm going to ask you to take a look at the gentleman seated. I'd be on your left, my right. You ever seen this gentleman before?
Not to my knowledge, sir.
Nothing further.
Ms. Watt?
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Hey, ma'am.
Now, you've indicated that Mr. Evans provided some lawn care. Would that be correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did that consist of?
They would maintenance the lawn every week, random pickup. I mean, occasionally in the spring and fall, leaves, normal garden bedding stuff, like normal lawn care.
Okay, so when you say normal lawn care, cutting the grass, picking up leaves, things that would require you to be able to function physically. Would that be correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now you've indicated that you were aware that Mr. Evans was in a serious auto accident. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you know if he had surgery or if he had any significant injuries from that accident?
I don't know anything about his medical history, ma'am.
Okay, you did say that you saw him using a cane.
I did see him using a cane.
When did you see him using a cane?
It was in that summer, after the fact. I'm not really sure of the date, but he was using a cane that summer.
Okay, and when you say using a cane, he was using a cane to walk, to assist him in walking, correct? And so when you say that it is likely that Mr. Evans worked on your lawn on the day that you were planning to go to the music festival, you don't know that for certain, do you?
I didn't say it was likely. I said it was a possibility.
Okay, but you don't know that for certain. Would that be
I can't remember
correct?
that far back, no, ma'am.
Do you recall who was working on your lawn?
No, I don't. I know Jonathan Warren was there for sure, and I'm not sure who else was there with him.
You've also, you've talked about the fact that you grew marijuana was pretty well known.
Yes,
Would
ma'am.
that be fair to say? And that's in the whole community, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Because you put it on the radio.
No,
Would
we
you
talked
talk
on the
about it
public-
on the radio?
It wasn't on the radio. It was the community access station, like we've talked at our town hall meetings or broadcasts. So, I mean, I've talked multiple times at multiple different events.
Okay, and these events are open to anybody.
Town hall
Anybody can
meetings,
attend.
yes, monthly.
And those are monthly.
Yes.
Can I have 1 second, Jim?
Yes, of course.
I think the rest of my questions were actually asked by co-counsel. Thank you. So I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Shackelford?
Briefly, after Miss Covington was found dead and her body was removed, at some point, did you and Megan Kopic get access to the apartment that she lived in?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and when you went into that apartment, did you notice, were there blood stains or anything indicating where Miss Covington's body had been?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and did you have to do any particular work in that area?
There was a cleaning crew that had to clean up, yes.
All right, did you have to pull out carpet?
Yes.
Judge, I'm just going to object. It's outside the scope of direct.
It's completely
I'm sorry,
within
cross.
the scope, Judge, I'm getting there.
Okay, go ahead and look.
So-
But I'm gonna allow her to ask it anyway, but go ahead.
So those Christmas lights that were on that back door, can you tell me how far that door with those Christmas lights on was from where that big bloody spot where you had to pull out carpet from?
Right in front of it.
Okay, so a foot, 2 feet?
Yeah.
Okay. And you indicated that in 2017 you were doing some construction on your home?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, were you two still living there while you were doing construction?
Yes, ma'am.
Or did you still have a couch and a TV and all of that
Yes,
stuff?
ma'am.
Okay, so people looking in might see a construction site, but they would also see a home.
Yes.
And with respect to Timothy Moore, I know you testified you never met him before.
Yes.
Had you ever seen him before?
Yes.
All right, before Egypt Covington's homicide?
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell me, who did you see him with?
Shane Evans.
All right, and where did you see him?
At their father's, or on Judd Road, which would be their Shane's dad's house.
What's his
Which
dad's name?
I-
If you, oh, you don't know, that's fine. So, had you seen him more than once?
Probably, but not, yes.
Okay. And what kind of dog was Ruby?
She was like a Pomeranian little,
And
small dog.
And just so we're clear, Ruby's dog is whose dog?
Ruby is Egypt's dog.
Nothing further.
Any follow-up, Ms. Joseph?
Just one. You testified that you've seen my client before. When did you see him?
In the vehicle that they got in a car accident in,
Okay. And about when was that?
previous to the car accident.
Okay, so 2015, 2016,
No, like
when?
weeks before.
Okay, so sometime in 2017 then, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Nothing further.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Mr. Goldstein, Ms. Watt, anything else?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
You can go out with Officer Garcia and you're free to leave.
Thank you.
Thank you. Since it's close to 1 o'clock, which is when I said we take a break, just out of curiosity, Ms. Shackelford, who's your next witness?
Judge, I have for the remainder of the day, let me get here. I have Curtis Meadows. I also have Officer Rennie from the Van Buren Police Department. I'm gonna call him over break and get him here.
Okay.
Sergeant McDonald. And possibly Sergeant Sean Street. And I'm gonna try and drum up a few more to make sure that, well, we'll have 2 hours left, basically, when we
We'll
get
have about
back.
2 hours
Okay,
left.
I'll try and make sure I have enough to get us to 4.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did you say Rennie?
RINI.
Okay.
It's the evidence tech.
Got it.
So that's that's the extent of the afternoon you think is Meadows, Rennie, McDonald, and Street. Probably. I'm not trying to
Yeah, I'm gonna
stick
try
you to it.
and, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and break for 45 minutes. So if at all possible, Ms. Watt and Mr. Goldstein, can wrap up whatever your other hearing is. So that hopefully we can, gentlemen,
I have no doubt you will.
We'll tell them.
we'll get, I don't wanna make them wait any longer to get this.
Either one of us are very shy, right? Right, Ms.
And
Watt?
we'll have you guys go with, if you gotta put your masks back on. And then, Ken, do you wanna take, or,
Oh, sorry.
no, you're good. How do we wanna disperse the defendants?
Wait, you can take that stuff.
You're taking, so Mr. Evans is gonna go with, okay. And then Tim, let me go off, hang on.
Oh, did you get your, I don't know.
Sorry? That's right.